Michael had all the baggage of, I guess, being a black nerd or geek that in a environment that was not rewarding for those predetermined identities.
Hello, my friend.
Hey, hello, Dr. K. What's going on?
What's going on, buddy?
Little bit nervous, not gonna lie to you. A
Yeah.
little bit. This is a little bit daunting, not gonna lie.
What's
But
so? First of all, what do you go by, and how would you like me to address you today?
well, normally Trihex works. If you want to call me Michael, we can roll with that. I'm indifferent on it,
Okay,
though. If you actually wanted my take on that,
I
I
do.
mean, I made my online tag when I was 13, so I was kind of like, I kind of wanted to escape the burden of the IRL identity because
Sure.
of like the stuff I was going through at the time here. But hey, whatever works for you,
Okay,
or
so
whatever you want to do.
you tell me, Trihex or Michael? What's better?
Ooh, okay. Let's sure. Let's go with Michael. Let's break down the barriers. Why not?
Okay,
Uh,
whatever.
I'll go there.
And I understand you're a little bit nervous.
Well, chronic overthinker. So I'm just like, we just got to ice break so that I'm not so like frigid
Sure.
and like whatever here.
I yeah. So can I just share with you why I'm excited for today?
Sure. No, please go right
So
ahead.
first of all, Michael, I'm a big fan. So I really appreciate the way that we have this idea that a gamer is like a degenerate
Hmm.
and someone who's like physically out of shape and things like that. And what I really appreciate about some streamers is that they model and also demonstrate that like gaming can be a part of a healthy life and you can take care of yourself in other ways too. And so
Thank you.
I
Yeah.
just appreciate that about you, man.
Wow, that means a lot. That it means a lot because in streaming, I find it's very difficult because the occupation really wants to reward degeneracy. Just stay up late, no
Hmm.
regulation on schedule, cover all your time zones, delegate eating out and ordering takeout all the time here. That way, you're not stuck doing any time intensive activities like cooking, and just fitness or even just discipline on physical. Just eats away all of that. Meal prep, working out, gym, going to and from gym. Just wake up, turn over, shower, skip, stream. That's literally how else are you gonna do, 14-hour streams daily?
Yeah.
So
I,
minor soapbox there, but like yeah, it's I've definitely been putting in a lot of work on that and trying to I'm continually fighting to find the balance.
yeah.
When does the payoff come?
It almost sounds like you have to choose between taking care of yourself and taking care of your streaming career.
Yes. Oh, I think there's definitely a war with that continuously.
Yeah, so
Definitely.
I'd love to hear, Michael, just your story and how you came to be where you are. If there's some small way in which we can be helpful, we'd love to. But I'd love to just hear a little bit about you and get to know who you are.
Okay. Well, so let's see here. We can start first with the fact that I've been Twitch streaming a lot longer than a lot of people. I started broadcasting in February 2011, so about 4 months before Twitch was even a thing. So I was at Twitch on
Wow.
day one back in July 2011. But my roots go even further back than that. I've been a competitive gamer, a speedrunner. I've been speedrunning since 2004.
Wow.
Yeah. So my first recorded speed run was actually done before even YouTube was a thing. YouTube didn't happen until 2005. So I was 15 years old. I thought I was like hot stuff. I actually think I kind of was at the time here. I was recording speed runs and super plays and super gameplays on my grandmother's VCR at her house. And she had the good internet. So I would go every weekend when I was 15. I'd go over there and like I would practice at my house all week long, and I go over there and just like grind and getting this like sick run that I felt looked inhuman, so precise and everything else here. And yeah, I actually would mail my VHS tapes off to a website that at the time would host and convert the VHS tape to digital MP4 video. But yeah, I
Wow.
was really good at Mario. That felt very validating. Prior to that, I was actually a, competitive Yu-Gi-Oh player in middle school.
Wow.
So I was the bottom of the totem pole in social hierarchy because I noteworthy here. I grew up in a rural small town in Louisiana, very small. So being into remember back here like 2003 here, right? So at that time, anime was not mainstream accepted. It was very much like belittled. in a way here, I guess I would say.
Sure.
Definitely, you know, with
It's a
the
good word.
yeah, the how do I put this here? It's like when you're in middle school and high school, the toxic hierarchy of like popularity is very like superficial. And if you're not with the hive mind of the other big fish, you get eaten alive. So in short, because I wasn't doing what the other kids already were doing, I was ostracized as like weird or nerdy or whatever. Um, Now this is also even further reinforced by the fact that I'm black. And so, because I was the only black kid playing Yu-Gi-Oh and into Dragon Ball and anime, and also the other nerds in the library doing all this stuff here, because I was the only black kid in there. Which again, I didn't see race in this regard at all here. But you know, the other kids, because of how I guess they were raised in this small town, felt that way. And so I got belittled a lot by the other black kids by being told that, hey, why are you acting so white? Why are you into all what they do? Why aren't you doing what we do or whatever? And it was always like a very like not like a not like an intrigued engagement. It was always like they felt like I was
Judgmental.
attacking judgmental and I was attacking them when again and they're the ones initiating the conversation. I'm not even the one approaching them. You know, I was indifferent towards whether they were into what I was into or not here. But that definitely attacked my insecurities a ton here because I felt like, well, dang, am I not being okay? Maybe their logic is correct here. Maybe I'm not being black enough. Maybe I'm not being valid in my identity. Maybe there is a racial war obligation to change my interests to be publicly presentable in middle school and high
Yeah.
school. Yeah, I felt like I was getting gaslit hardcore there, and it really ate at me hard. And then by extension, you know, going through puberty during teenagehood, when it came to like romance, I just felt like I couldn't even like it was daunting. I couldn't even like talk to girls because I was
Sure.
so chronically overthinking on like, well, what do I talk about? Because like, you know, the boys are shunning me for being into anime and Dragon Ball and all of the cool things I think I'm into. So if I talk to a girl, what do I open with? You know, I can't open with
Do you
what
play
do I even
Yu-Gi-Oh?
do? Yeah, do you play Yu-Gi-Oh? What deck do you main? Do you think Magic Cylinder's a top tier card? Yeah, I don't know. I just so I have to famously say here that like at the time I felt like I was stuck in this like pyramid of confusion where like I felt like girls would say one thing but they meant a different thing but they were thinking a third thing. And so if that's what I perceive that they were doing, and therefore I'm like, okay, well, I have to be what I think they want me to be, and then hide who I really am, and then pre-plan my next thought and have my next reply to what they'll say to what I think they want me to be continuously, and
Sure.
just you know,
Sounds exhausting.
yeah, I'm frying up all you know, I'm literally out of RAM. I can't download any more RAM at this point. My CPU is fried even trying to figure all that out. So
Yeah. I
yeah,
mean,
that was
can I just
that was. Oh, I'm sorry.
yeah, can I just kind of summarize what I heard for a second?
Sure, please.
Wow, Michael, it sounds like actually being Michael was tough.
Yeah.
You know?
Things didn't get better until college, I would say for sure. Yeah.
Yeah. I'm just noticing how many different judgments and identities you were juggling. Right? So the first is like you're a nerd, but you're a black nerd. And the other nerds are not, they don't have the same color of your skin, you know? And
Correct.
and I'm not hearing that you actually got necessarily a whole lot of discrimination from them.
Correct.
But
I
it
did
was
not.
really about sort of like this preconceived identity of like what it means to be black
Yes.
and whether
Very
you
much that.
fit into that mold, right?
Correct.
And people
Right.
sort of almost discriminating against you for having interests that were not traditionally like I mean there's this idea which I think is absurd, which we sort of understand now, but back in the day, I mean it's still something that I struggle with as well, but you know that if you're of a particular race or ethnicity, you're supposed to like particular things.
Correct. Yeah.
And sort of struggling with that and sort of trying to figure out who you are and not really being a popular kid because of your interests. So like the popular kids are kind of like on your case, and then even people that you know potentially could have been good healthy relationships because of your race and your interests, that was challenging for you. And then we sort of opened the door to any kind of romance kind of stuff where there's like layers of thinking and overthinking and you know, it's almost like you're treating a interaction with someone from the opposite sex like a strategic play in Yu-Gi-Oh, where it's like trap card, and then like I got to do this, and then like we got to do this, and then if I play this, they're gonna do this, and they're gonna think I'm doing this, and then like I can't let them see that this is my aim.
That's a very good way to put it here. Though I think at the time I was terrified of rejection. I don't think I could take it. I was
Yeah.
already rejected by most of the kids there. Like, when I tell you I'm the bottom of the social poll, like I'm the only black kid playing Yu-Gi-Oh in the library in the morning, so I'm the nerdiest one there by far. And I don't know if I could handle another rejection. I already felt so minuscule in the self-worth.
Sure.
I would just I thrived in I just by like ninth grade I just like said okay whatever like let's just do it. And so my goal was just to become a godlike Yu-Gi-Oh player. Like I don't need their validation. I'll just like go in and find my own and my own piece.
I
I
think
guess.
it's interesting almost that you went into Yu-Gi-Oh. That feels tied together to me. That
Yeah.
you know, like your passion for gaming almost grew out of the ashes of like almost like a normal life. That sounded a bit dramatic, but
Yes. Yes. I mean, it was my calling, maybe. Yeah, I don't know. That's and you know, a lot of this now, like I'm even me just narrating and giving you like the narrator POV alongside what was happening at that time here. It was all stuff that I didn't really acknowledge until like years later. Like I don't think I really understood how damaging the whole like middle school, high school social hierarchy was until like I was like 25 years old. I don't think I really got it until Twitch popularity really hit me, and then all those demons came back in 2015, I would say.
you
Which
mentioned that things got better for you in college. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
sure. So once I graduated and I got into college, or particularly it was community college. I was still too broke to actually like go to like big boy university. So I just kind of like took like, you know, low key community college while working just to kind of like, I don't know, get things going here. My mom told me it was really important just to like not take that year off of after high school, like, you know, because you're gonna get the don't once and then you're gonna just like idle forever, which I think is actually some really good advice here. But she told me that, so I ended up going to community college, just taking a bunch of like filler courses. Didn't really have an idea what to do. I didn't even look into if I could even transfer credits and whatnot. Just kind of like in there to like be there and do something. But when I was in college, the environment there was just way more relaxed. People are coming in their pajama pants. There's no like scrutiny over how you dress or how you look. It was just I don't know. Nothing felt. It felt more like the real world where no one really cares how you're dressing as long as you're just like baseline presentable in society. And that felt really refreshing. You can just make friends and it not be like, again, this like scathing popularity clout chase and maybe my high school was just like particularly bad. And maybe it's more of a remnant of like just small town USA where there's just a lot of hive mind going on there. And when you're in a more metro city, there's more diversity. And therefore, by extension, there's like less scrutiny on because there's so many groups, right? I imagine like a big high school in like Houston, Texas would probably have an anime club, for example. But if you're in a small town, if you ain't hunting and fishing, then you're the outcast.
Yeah.
And people love to judge what they don't understand.
Wow.
But yeah, and when I was in college, yeah, it got a lot better. I felt way more just normal and less insecure just being myself.
Yeah,
Certainly.
I think sometimes in college, we're busy living our own life, and in high school and middle school, we're busy living everyone else's.
Yeah.
And it's like, what is this person dressing like? That becomes a part of my life. That's what I think about. That's what I comment on. I'm so concerned with other people. Whereas in college, it's like, I don't have time to dress to impress.
This is true. Yeah, definitely that. It's funny you bring that back to because so my high school had school uniforms. Well, my entire state has school uniforms. So you got to wear like khaki pants and like and a polo button up, but which is meant to like make everyone's income level indistinguishable. That way you can't like wear like fancy brands and whatnot. And so it's funny though because shoes were not regulated in this regard. You can wear whatever shoes you want here. So it's just funny because that policy kind of backfired because then what became so important for expression was shoes. Like at this point now, whether you had on J's or Air Force Ones or Narachis or whatever here or Tim's, like that was like the thing. So it's kind of like hyper focused on shoes. So it's just
Yeah.
And you're right. If somebody bought new shoes, that was like the topic of the day. Like I don't know, again, incredibly, and not that being superficial is negative. Just when it's like superficial to a aggressive, almost animostic sense is whenever it was like draining a little bit there, I would say.
Yeah, absolutely. I think I sort of experienced the same thing, that people are going to find ways to distinguish in social hierarchies, and you can restrict particular things, but then it'll be, like a particular set of binders or a particular set of shoes or particular watches or particular things, and people will find ways to develop a pecking order.
Definitely.
And so, what can you tell me a little bit? So it sounds like college went like okay for you in the sense that you started to really not be made fun of, not really judged quite as harshly. People were more concerned. And so, where did kind of streaming come in, and what ended up happening?
Okay, so what happened here was, so I did my first speed run in 2004. I was an active member of that community. Well, really
In what game?
small. For Yoshi's Island,
Oh
Super
wow.
Mario World 2 Yoshi's Island,
Yep.
the one where you play as Yoshi and you shoot the eggs at stuff.
Yep.
Yeah, I'm like really, 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 really good at that one. I don't want to bore you with the details of it here, but yeah, that's like the game I'm iconically known for. So what was I saying about them? Sorry. I YuGiOh was getting stupid. I did not agree with some rules that happened there. Not that I don't want to bore you with YuGiOh lore either here, but so because YuGiOh was getting whack, which is saying a lot because now YuGiOh's extra whack now at this point, 20 years later.
Wait, why do you assume that the rules will bore me?
Oh, because it's like it's
Tell me.
it's like
Michael, I'd love to hear.
oh my god. Okay, well, first, the reason why I thought you would find it boring is because like it's just like technical jargon that I don't.
I want to hear, bro.
I fear that it's not as interesting to the healthy gamer audience. So I hate to give you that meta confession here, but okay, if I can indulge
I've never
you here.
played a game of Yu-Gi-Oh in my life, but I want to hear so bad. Tell me
Okay,
how they
so
screwed up, Michael.
Okay, so in late 2004, there was a particular set of Yu-Gi-Oh cards called Invasion of Chaos that came out in Japan. It was coming to USA pretty soon afterward here. This particular set was insanely broken and had unprecedented resource management that was completely unethical in the context of how previously when you would have monsters die because they would attack one another, a monster goes to the graveyard, it's supposed to remain in the graveyard. But now, essentially, what happens is you can now RFG monsters and banish them from the graveyard and use that as a cost to be able to summon these 3,000 attack beat sticks that can go ahead and annihilate anything on the board for practically nothing. And when they do that, they get byproduct effects that are able to further push your advantage. It's completely ridiculous. So essentially, what you can do now is just like play a card, dump 5 things into your graveyard, RFG 2 of them, bring up your super big dragon, and just go ahead and pay 1,000 life points and win the game. So it's essentially like rather than your opponent having any capability to like do anything about it here, it's just kind of like press the win button and then turn off your brain and then you already win. It's like it's really, 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 really toxic. And these cards were so overpowered and so overwhelming that like they became known as staples. And so like there was no deck creativity because this meta was so dominant. And quite frankly, Konami Upper Deck, they didn't care at all here because these cards were they were ultra rares. They were like, yeah, they were gonna sell. Yeah, these things were like you needed $300 to even get this deck going here. They were called chaos decks here. And to get this thing going here, and they were so overwhelmingly powerful. What were we gonna do? So the game became like obnoxiously pay to win. And
they did
at the
pay
time
to win
here,
before it was cool.
Before it was cool, and yeah, if you're a teenager, I was influenceable, so I just thought, yeah, this is definitely this is, yeah, we didn't know that we have those terms of time here. I just thought the balancing was really, really bad. You got the Magic the Gathering kids always making fun of Yu-Gi-Oh kids saying that your game is trash. You need to ban the entire set here. And then Yu-Gi-Oh kids like, no, you're just not good. You're gonna get skill. And in hindsight now, I'm like, I got tired of it. But then here's the catalyst here. Here's the breaking point. So Japan they introduced a ban list because at the time here there was no ban cards. It was only cards that were limited to one. And even having one copy of some of these cards were incredibly broken and changed the entire deck here. Garbage like Yatagarasu and Chaos Emperor Dragon and Blackluster Soldier were just completely broken and needed definitely some kind of like nerfing of some kind here altogether here, much less limited to one. So Japan finally said, okay, we had enough of this. This is meta. It's actually bonkers. And they introduced a ban list where like 15 cards or more were banned at the first generation of this ban list. And I told my community, oh my God, told my local high school friends, hey, I have the Japanese ban list here. Remember, this is 2004, so we have like printers. We don't have smartphones here. So like I printed out the sheet and I'm like, hey, translated ban list here. Y'all want to play it? Because I'm kind of tired of like throwing. By the way, yeah, I don't even know how I even had the money to get these cards here. Like I'm thinking back now when I was 15, was I like hustling like chocolate milk cartons and whatnot to get these cards? I don't even know how I got this stuff in the first place here, but I'm sure I traded a copy of a game here and there. I think I remember trading Ratchet and Clank for PS2 for like a Cannon Soldier or something. I don't even remember at this point. But yeah, my community rejected it. They were like, "No, I worked too hard to get these cards. No, I'm not gonna. That Bayless is whack to me." And I'm like, "Well, you know, it's gonna come to America eventually, right? Like, usually Konami Japan's gonna, you know, prelude what happens in Konami USA. They're gonna bring it here eventually. They didn't want to do it. They didn't want to hear it. They didn't even want to adopt it because here's what happened. Here's what's crazy here. Konami USA was like, oh, well, you know what? This makes a lot of money here. We're going to have two formats. We're going to have the ban list and the not ban list, where it's still limited to one here. So everyone had the option to remain on the traditional list. And I'm just like, well, yeah, now no one's ever going to play the game that's going to be, like, in my opinion, fun and better here and strategically diverse. So I was like, hey, this is whack. This is dumb. I'm bored of this. This is so exhausting. This is literally a pay to win, turn off your brain, press the win button, call it a day thing here. So it was at that point that my disdain for Yu-Gi-Oh! At that time, I hate Yu-Gi-Oh! For other reasons now, by the way, here, but at that time, that's whenever I kind of like moved on and was like, okay, well, speed running is a thing that I was passively interested in early '04, but now by late 2004, I'm like, yo, this is like my thing now. So
Awesome.
I wanted to take that and go somewhere. Which, on that note, last little trivia about that here. The name that my tag Trihex actually came from when I won my first online Yu-Gi-Oh tournament in like late 2003.
How do you?
I had a way cornier name back then, and I once I got my first dub in a tournament, I was like, ooh, no, I'm a Yu-Gi-Oh duelist now. Let's go. I need a sick tag, dude. So I just, you know, meet my scrub self in Photoshop at age 13. I was like, you know, ooh, polygon lasso tool. I can make a hexagon. And I just put 3 hexagons together, and triple hexagon, shortened for Trihex.
That's awesome, man.
Yeah, so that's when Trihex came into play from Yu-Gi-Oh competitively, and then it just carried into what I registered my name as on the speedrun community.
I'm so glad you shared that.
Yeah, so well, I'm glad you enjoyed it.
I'm serious. I mean, there's clearly so much passion. Maybe a touch of trauma. Maybe a touch. You know?
No, I mean, it's wild because people. It's wild because people don't know how to read cards either. So like, whenever you had so think here now. This isn't taken for granted, right? In 2004, again, no one has a smartphone, no one has like a laptop nearby, no one has Wi-Fi. So like, when there's a dispute over how a card works, how do you resolve that conflict? And it was like, so I had to think in advance here and bum my grandma's printer with her expensive, overpriced HP ink and just like print out the rule sets for those known problem cards. I knew these boys were not going to be able to, they was going to assume the best faith in their favor of how the cards operated. So I had to, like, you know, bring them that, and they would still argue with me about it. So yeah, I got some Yu-Gi-Oh players don't like to read. I'll tell you that much for sure. It is toxic, to say the least. They also cheat a ton. Well, I don't want to. I don't want to make this about Yu-Gi-Oh all day here because you'll be.
Let's take a step back. Let's maybe talk about a couple other things. But
sure,
if all roads lead to home, then that's where they lead. And if this ends up being a 2-hour Yu-Gi-Oh rant stream, like let's get it. Let's do what we need to do the work that needs to be done. You know.
No, it's not. Yeah, it's not that serious.
Okay, so you started speedrunning, and that's wild, by the way. Like recording things on VHS tapes and like mailing them to places to be uploaded.
Mm-hmm.
Like
yeah, there was a website called Speed Demos Archive, and the staff there notably had like a bunch of equipment where they would convert VHS to digital video, and yeah, they really were passionate about lifting up the speedrun scene. You know, before YouTube, they had been around since 2003. So yeah, they had a bunch of speedruns. You know, at first it was just Metroid and Quake, if I recall correctly, but they quickly expanded to the other game section, and the other game section like blew up because everyone was submitting stuff from, you know, Banjo-Kazooie to GoldenEye to Mario Kart to everything in between, and they couldn't keep up. And I wanted to hop on that scene. I wanted to be a super gamer. I wanted to validate my existence. I found great validation and pride and, dare I say, purpose with that. At age 15, I had that whole, like, I don't know if everyone goes through here, the whole existential crisis where you're like, you know, what's the point of life? You know, we're all going to die anyway. If that kind of thought enters people's minds, I'm not quite sure here, but that hit me really, really hard. And I was trying to figure out, well, if I die tomorrow, what's my legacy? And I started becoming infatuated with the idea of like, okay, well, Trihex has a legacy. Michael has nothing. I felt. Again, high school was just like not, and middle school was just not there. Very sucked.
How was it? And by the way, Michael, I just want to, can I just share a couple things that have come out of your mouth that I would love to ask you about? Because I think there's actually a lot of wisdom. So one is you've talked about overthinking. You use the phrase pyramid of confusion. You talked about how people love to judge what they don't understand. You talked about
Hmm.
maybe your mom saying if you take a year off, you're going to get a case of the don't wants, and you'll
Correct.
be
Yeah.
idle forever.
Hmm.
And then you're also talking about this like kind of conflict between purpose and Michael versus Trihex, and one has a life that they want to run away from, and one has a life that is optimistic and growing and has a lot of potential. So can you
Yeah.
tell me a little bit more about just like so what was it like to want to run away from Michael, if that's fair to say, and run towards Trihex?
Well, so again, Michael had all the baggage of, I guess, being a black nerd or geek that in a environment that was not rewarding for those predetermined identities. I didn't choose to be black, and I don't know, whatever. Like, do you choose your interest? I guess you just kind of you get infatuated with whatever you run into over time here. So there was baggage there. I got called White Mike a ton in high school. That I found very. I wanted to avoid conflict, so I was never one to like really pump up confrontation and call that out. I mean, it was just a bunch of black kids. Maybe they wanted to fight, maybe they didn't here. But comparatively, when I was Trihex, it was like none of the identical identifiers. Oh my god, words. Were relevant. Just my gamer skill and my legacy. Like I was super into that. So I things like learning Photoshop and really getting further on graphic design, getting better at drawing. I could draw pretty well. I had ambition. I wanted to all the things that I desired to do just were not aligned with like what I'd experienced thus far in middle school and high school.
Okay.
So I wanted to. I loved Pixar. I loved animation. I loved cartoons. I wanted to work at Pixar before I died, and I wanted to do everything I could to help develop that skill set, getting to that point. So I felt like speed running was a great way to keep me afloat until then, I guess.
Okay. And so help me understand, from, I guess right now you're in college, you're in the speed running scene,
Mhm.
between 2004 and 2011 when you started streaming, like what were those years like?
So 2004 to 2011 is mostly me just like this is important here actually. We'll say this is important. When I'm speed running, I am producing the final result, the run, right? The perfect run that I'm trying to get here, mistake free and all that. I'm producing that in isolation. I'm usually at my house to myself. Maybe I'm watching like I don't know, a movie on two TVs or whatever here, side by side while I'm like grinding my runs all day and whatnot while recording on the VCR. But most importantly, I'm in my isolation. I'm in my flow. I'm in my flow state. I'm getting better. I'm addicted to the progress, and I'm continually seeing myself top myself over and over again, and getting even better than what my starter goal was. And it's very, very fulfilling. However, I do think that people only really care about the end result. They don't want to see the making of. You don't want to watch a director like make the movie. You want to watch the movie. So by 2011, when streaming becomes a little more palatable, mostly in the context of racing, I gotta bring this up here. People were racing each other, so it's like me and you, let's 1v1 race Mario Brothers 3, right? And we just like broadcast it live on like Justin TV or wherever, right? And that was the idea. But people also were taking that and piggybacking off the idea of just streaming the races into also streaming world record attempts and speed runs. So once I saw that in 2011, I was like, wait. People will watch people grind, like
Hmm.
the repetitive, grueling 99% fail rate of grinding to get the result. People will watch that. That blew my mind. So whenever I like tried it out in February 2011, I was blown away that I had like 25 viewers on day one. Because I was just like, because before, remember, for like 6 years, 7 years, it was purely for myself. It was a self
Sure.
fulfilling thing. But now it was a
Other
social
people
thing.
are interested.
I had an audience, and I was like, or a community. I was like, whoa, okay, let's, because I was already someone at this time here. I also noteworthy here. I never went through the whole like the single digit viewer slump where it's like a coliseum to get out of here to even get to that, like even to 10 viewer
Yeah.
count, because it's so saturated now, right? But I never dealt with that. I was already notable at the very jump because I had years of prerequisite skill to show I don't know, gamer clout, I guess there.
And so, can you tell us, Michael, a little bit about what your life has been like since you started streaming? So, kind of catching us up from today till, maybe like over the last 10 years. And, we can go into more detail here or there. But what's it like
Sure.
being a streamer?
Um, it being a well, okay. There's two distinctions here. There was being a part-time streamer while trying to juggle working at a job elsewhere alongside dealing with IRL. You know, the typical struggle, right? You part-time stream, but you can stream better if you can do it full-time. That way, you can put more effort into it. That was 2011 to 2015. 2015 onwards when I became full-time, and that's those are two very different beasts, I would say. So if you're asking about
Yeah.
full-time
Tell me about
streamer,
part time streaming.
okay. Part-time streaming was time management galore. I felt like I could never do it enough. I was a student. I did go to Big Boy University. I was a student. Sorry, I'm sorry. I was a full-time student until fall 2012. So 2011 to 2012, I barely streamed. I did like 2 nights a week, if anything, here because I had like a crap ton of homework like any other full-time student. Didn't get much sleep either, honestly. Just kind of like just completely grueling. But I saw that I had the potential. I really, really
Mm,
believed I could actually grow as a streamer if I had the opportunity to really give it a shot. Because I saw other streamers at the time here. They were doing Ocarina of Time and Mario 64, and they were blowing up to I don't know. I hate to make it superficial here about the view count, but like that's kind of the metric we all had at the time here. So they were getting to 300 viewers. I was sitting here stagnant at 50 viewers for a very long time because I could only put in so much time per week. So I decided to drop out of university. I say drop out. I paused university. I can resume whenever I wanted to. But I was scared to do that at the beginning here because my grandmother, she's a teacher and she was a teacher for 34 years. So she's very old school on like, get your
sure.
education. That's how you get things going here. And I paused university in fall 2012 just to give it a shot for full effort. And at that point it was crazy. I was growing a lot more at that time. Though I'm making more about this here now. The what I would say what happened here is that this is where like the start of like imposter syndrome came into play because I became known so well for being the best at Yoshi's Island, and now that the community had grown, I was not number one. I think I was number 8. I was top 8, and I felt like I needed to get number one. I was perceived as I was the most popular Yoshi speedrunner, but I wasn't the best one. And maybe that has to do with the fact that I had again, this is where it gets technical here, but like when it comes to muscle memory, I was the original innovator of all the routes that we had now on Yoshi's Island for 100%. And so I have like thousands of hours on what was the best route using only my feedback here back in 2004, 2005. So I made all those routes back then. The community was coming because of the streaming was happening now. So now we went from just being also, yeah, no worth it here. I was the only Yoshi Island speedrunner for like 6 years. So so whenever the community was coming because of the streaming now, there was like 10, 20 runners, and I'm getting passed up, honestly, because we have now collaboration. They're showing off new routes, and it's harder for me to get them because I have like have to. It's not really easy to delete muscle memory. You can
Sure.
only really just overwrite it with like more grinding. So I kind of had like I would dare say an upper hill battle to deal with. But regardless of that, though, I was the most popular streamer for Yoshi's
Ha-
Island at that time. So being the most popular one, the most viewed one, but not the best at the game, did give me some kind of conflicts over that I needed. I needed to validate myself by
ha-
getting to number one.
Help me understand that. What part of you needed to validate? Like, help me understand that.
Um, that's hard to. I don't know. That was like, I feel like if you're an imposter. Well, that there was this really toxic notion in early streaming of speedrunning at the time here that you're a sellout. That if you people can donate to you, and if you do, you're doing it for donations and support, and you're not doing it for the love of the game. Like speedrunning should
Mm,
remain pure. There were a lot of toxic, silly ideas that were high roading a lot here, and it usually came from the camps that had a lower view count that might have been envious, dare I say, jealous of those who were more successful at it, possibly. Um, Hard to say really here, but I do feel like imposter syndrome does. Whenever I learned what that was, actually does really to me feel like what I was going through at that time.
And can you
I
help?
can just tell you that I did not allow myself to enjoy streaming until I got world record. I did not want to play other games. I didn't want to play Mario Party. I didn't want to play casual games. It was Yoshi and only Yoshi because I had to get better at Yoshi.
What did it mean to you to get world record?
Everything. It meant that I could finally have inner peace. It finally meant that like I am what I think I am. That like what Trihex is perceived as and what Michael is are one and the same finally. Rather than like I don't know, like I'm this gamer who already peaked and I can't do it.
I see. So can I ask a couple of questions about that?
Sure.
So here's what I'm going to try to sort of try to piece this together a little bit. You let me know if this resonates or not. But so there was Michael, right? White Mike. Mm-hmm. And then Trihex came on the scene. And Trihex is the best Yoshi's Island streamer, speedrunner, whatever. And so, you know, on the inside, you're Michael. And on the outside, you're Trihex. And everyone expects, you've kind of used this term over and over and over again, where you kind of said you're top 8, but you'll sort of highlight the fact that you were perceived as the best, or maybe the most popular, right? There's this, but like if we really look at it, it's even hearing you talk about it, it's like you'll give us evidence to the contrary, even when you tell the story, because you'll kind of say, I was perceived as the best, but I was top 8, you know, and so even hearing you talk about it, I'm almost, and now it just kind of clicked for me that like getting world record means that what people expect of you is actually true.
Yeah, you
right?
Nailed it. That yes.
Like that like this is what the world perceives me as, and there's almost a sense that until you get that world record, you've jebaited people into believing something that you're not, and maybe a part of you was even terrified, possibly, that you may not have been able to live up to expectations.
Not maybe. You're exactly that. I was that. If that were the truth, that truth terrified me that I actually couldn't do it. And that comes back into play later on here in 2015 onward.
How so?
Sure. I honestly thought I had peaked. I really did. So I love Yoshi's Island, my favorite game of all time. And I grew to hate playing it because I was reminded of how not good I was at it in my own head. Like when you speedrun continuously, you gotta think, I've been speedrunning the game I have at least 15,000 hours in the game since 2004, a loose estimate here. A conservative one at that too, by the way, here. And in one game and in one category. And to this day, I'm 10th place now. My best time is from May of 2015. The new runners now, they're over 10 minutes faster than me, which is like a huge deal. Like just insane growth that's happened since then. It feels daunting. It feels like the game Celeste. It feels like I'm climbing like 10 of those, like to get there, because of the mental endurance, the insecurities, I feel like I can never get there. And not playing the game, or I'm sorry, I mean to cut you off there.
No, go ahead.
Oh, I feel like you can't. How do I put this here? It's just like, no matter how hard I try, I will never get there. It's grueling. It's grueling.
Yeah,
and I love the game. I want to play it. I feel like I should enjoy it, but because of just how exhausting it is to acknowledge where I currently am, I hate where I am. I love improving, but I want to be able to improve in private. That's actually what it is here. I don't want to stream improving at the game. I just want to be better at the game. I crave the destination, and I loathe having to like do that in a transparent manner for streaming here. So it's like if I became like a literal alt account, no webcam, no microphone, no requirement of interaction, where I just grind the game and become like a junky game playing robot, I could probably get there in 6 to 12 months. But because I have to like balance interacting with chat and like being a charismatic streamer and all that, and then being reminded of like, you know, who has world record and what I don't have and what happened and everything else here, it's just draining, man.
Can I think for a second?
Sure.
There's a lot there.
Yeah, I'm sorry.
No, don't apologize. That was
the deepest part.
That was positive feedback. How do you feel about being challenged, Michael? Like now?
I'm excited. I do speedrun other games. Being challenged, I would say when I feel prepared. If I have time to prepare, I can thrive.
Oh no, yeah, I was going to make a couple statements that may challenge you in this moment, or ask a couple of questions.
Oh. Okay. Yeah. Go for it.
Well, I mean, hold on a second, because you just said I'm okay being challenged if I can prepare, but like you're not prepared for this, so maybe we should steer clear.
Well, I guess I was thinking of it purely in like the gaming context, but yeah, well, this is different.
Okay.
Yeah, this is like psychologically challenged, right? There's like no, like I'm not pretending that I'm emotionally sound or that I'm like mentally like pristine here. So like I'm on Healthy Gamer, right?
Okay.
So it's like, yeah, this is different to me than like I view this in different venue entirely than like the competitive gaming space or the war of perception in internet land,
So
so to speak.
Michael, what I appreciate so much about what you've said, because I think I think you put to words so well what a lot of what we struggle with. The one thing that has really jumped out to me is improving in private.
Okay.
And there's a part of us, we all want to be number one. But why do we all want to improve in private? How do you understand that part of you?
Because that's a good question here. So if we go back to like 2018, I used to say it was because I had performance anxiety. I would say that like chat, I play better offline. I swear, I did 1 hour. And I'm not want to do this here. Actually, there was a point where it was really getting to me, and I acknowledged, okay, maybe I start blaming factors of mental rather than just like factors of the execution here. So rather than me like I'm not doing enough practice, okay, maybe it's the stress of like having to do it with a live audience. So I would start to do like dirty offline practice, and I would do a 1 hour session, just like chill, put on some lo-fi, whatever here, just vibe. Get back in my like, dare I say, Renaissance flow state of 2005, where it would just be me and myself, and there was no like threat of like how many viewers can I retain while doing it, or how whatever here. Because the reality here is we haven't talked this yet here. In the context of speedrunning, it's not even it's 90% mental to me. Like, because everyone's good at the game, but are you good at the game when you're on your best pace ever? When you're on world record pace? When you have like triple your normal audience size, you can see that view count getting dumb. You can see the chat in your peripheral.
What does that do to you?
Scrolling fat. Oh, what it does is it exposes exactly how confident you are. You can bring it down to an exact percentage number here. That one trick that you want to do on whatever in World 5-5-4, the 5-4 skip, if you are not feeling 99% confident in that trick, you're gonna fail it. Like, because you're gonna have it's in your head rent free. You have to extract all doubt and get it out there. You need to be able to.
And what is the chat scrolling fast? What are the high numbers? You use the word threat.
Yeah,
what does that do to you?
Because I don't want to fail again. Because it's the same thing over and over again. You're just like you got to like burn and choke 50 to 100 runs before you even finally feel like before you feel like you're confident. You have to actually be in the familiarity of that scenario to finally understand that what you're fearing is debatably irrational. You nail it in practice. Why are you feel insecure now? Why is the oddballs got you feeling that kind of way at this point now?
Okay.
So, yeah.
So Michael,
yeah.
Yeah. I'm sorry. Go ahead. So let me ask you a couple questions. Mm-hmm. So, what if I'm going to toss something out? You let me know if this sticks or not.
Okay.
There's a part of me that wonders, and I'm going to say some statements that are challenging. Okay. So, and we're going to hopefully, if I upset you or say something that's out of line, please let me know. And I realize I'm talking it up too much. I don't think it's actually going to be like bad or anything. But maybe I'm thinking about my own experiences. But part of what I think is alluring about improving in private is that sometimes we have a doubt that we may not be able to. Right? So there's sort of this idea that if I do it publicly, you've shared with us what the challenge is of like all the viewers and things like that. It lives rent-free in your head, and you need to be in that flow state. You need to, in order to crack that record, in order to get to the top, in order for Michael to become Trihex, You have to be operating at 100%. And any amount of Twitch chat scrolling, any amount of viewers, or any amount of that other stuff, that is not when you have, been Mozart or been Bach. And so there's that aspect of streaming and sort of juggling things and stuff like that, which I completely get. I think that makes a lot of sense. We can talk more about that. But there's a part of me that actually wonders, like, now you're number 10, you used to be number 8. There's a part of me that wonders if there's a part of you that thinks that as these people, like, and I can almost hear the rationalizations in your head that I got to be number 1, without any kind of feedback, without learning from other people. The kids are younger now. They're faster. They're stronger. They're, there are people who can grind 15,000 hours, whereas like there you are drinking what appears to be a protein shake. Like, I'm looking at you in your Under Armour tee, and it's like you take care of yourself and things like that. You got bills to pay and you got to pay your taxes and stuff like that. And there are these kids out there that just all they can do is grind. And there's a part of me that wonders, like, if you're in private, like, you can at least fail in private.
Ooh, that's a good way to put that. Yeah. Yeah.
And I wonder if part of the reason that
I'm free from scrutiny.
Yeah.
I would say.
And the real thing about free from scrutiny is it comes down to, and I think a big part of that is, why do you need to be free from scrutiny? And the more you doubt yourself, the more that you start to wonder, like, will I ever be number 1 again? Because, like, let's be honest, like, every generation gets better. Right? Like,
yeah.
100 years ago, the chess grandmasters were like in their 60s, and then they were in their 40s, and then they were in their 30s. And, like the best Go players in the world, I think, are like 19. And what we're sort of...
It's the same thing actually in speedrunning. You're making some really good parallel points here. Yeah, in speedrunning it's the same thing. The kids are younger. I'm sure COVID quarantine probably further accelerated that entirely here with the Fortnite kids and whatever else in between. Yeah, everyone they're getting younger, they're getting stronger, they're getting faster. The resources to the knowledge here. I mean, I imagine in chess maybe it's parallel here. Chess 3 is probably way more palatable mainstream now than it was maybe in the 70s or 60s, clearly. And yeah, now if you want to get good at Mars 64, you're like 3 Wikipedia articles away from knowing everything the world record holder knows, literally. Yeah.
So what does that mean for you?
What does
just the fact that people are, younger, faster, stronger, they can climb. So you were a trailblazer, right? So you work really hard to get so far, and you're literally like making a trail that the people behind you can just run down. Whereas each inch of that trail was something that you had to, make.
It doesn't really bother me that there are other people better. Actually, no one's really toxic, I would say, to me. No one belittles me. It was all a war in my head.
So help me understand that, because I'm happy to hear you're in a good place, but how did you get there? Because I can imagine that.
Well, let's not. I wouldn't say I'm in a great. I'm still working through issues on Yoshi's Island, honestly. I just say that there's like how do I put this here? There was bullying. I don't know how to put this here. This is like. Okay. I'm just gonna throw it out there because I don't know how to make this like a more palatable way to say it here. So, 4chan, there was a group on 4chan called Speedrun General called SRG. This was like a 4chan anonymous message board group that would usually like this was like one of the more larger spectator groups in speedrunning when speedrunning was very, very young in 2011 and whatnot. And I feel like I got a lot of attacks from them. It's a really toxic group. I am not a fan of that at all here. But I got a lot of attacks there because I was talkative. I guess I would say here. I was less about the game. I would talk a lot. Major context you haven't gotten to here yet was I was a waiter for 8 years. The job I did alongside being a university student and everything else here, from 2007 to 2015 when I went full time, I was a waiter. So naturally, being a waiter, you're just doing social engineering on steroids at all times here. So I'm able to like pinpoint and figure out here like when am I taking too long to get to a point that keeps you continuously engaged, how to keep the flow of the conversation well, trying to demonstrate mastery of body language that way come off as approachable, accessible, and charismatic and relatable to anyone I'm talking to and whatnot here, getting a feel and a vibe for why you're currently at the restaurant. Are you here? Are you here on a movie date? You got to be somewhere by a certain point. Are you here to like, milk it? Are you here to like, are you here to watch the football game and therefore I should be more minimalistic in that way? I'm not intruding on your on the football game or whatever here, etc.
Sounds
Going
like
really hard on that
overthinking
there.
has its advantages.
Yeah, it's also speedrunning too, because it's all about it's all about optimizing here. When to because I know that once I get your order in there, we can slow the pace down considerably. It's all about the
You
acceleration to
think a
get there.
lot, Michael.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I've been told that. Um, yeah, so I did that. I did that a ton, and particularly here, I was always really keen for like if you were stuck on an indecisiveness, like I want to get your order in because you're hungry, and the timer is ticking here, whether we've ordered your food or not here in the context of your hunger. So I will make it my great effort here to make the conversation as conversational as possible rather than more transactional. So I'm trying to like throw you my recommendations, my top three I would go for, the most popular dishes, what I like, why I like it. That way you feel more welcome to like tell me
Hmm.
your top three you're thinking about doing, and et cetera, right? So anyways, here I was a waiter for a long period of time, and like that kind of like exuded into my my streaming. After I would do a run, I would have like so many, because again I was
You
in flow
talk a
state.
lot.
Not during the run,
Yeah, but
after the
afterward.
run. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was in flow state. I would barely talk during the run, and then when I'm done, I'm so overwhelmed by questions. I'm taking each question from chat here, and I'm able to like actually take what they're asking and extend the dialogue of what they're asking. Like, you're asking me about my controller, but you really want to know like why I'm holding the control the way I am. So I would just answer that question with more
Sure.
elaboration on what you're getting to, and it ended up being like like I would say like maybe like 4 hours would be gameplay, and the remaining three would be me just talking because I had so much to say about what people were asking about.
And what did
So I
4chan
came
think
off as
about
a
that?
say it again.
What did 4chan think about that?
Oh, they hated it. They thought it was a sellout. They thought I was I don't know, like not a real speedrunner because every time they would tune in, I'm always just talking and yapping or whatever. It was just haters. But again, I was insecure, maybe as a remnant of the middle school, high school thing. I did feel some irrational obligation to be liked by everybody. And again, maybe because it's just remnants from that there, and it would really get at me a lot. In fact, it made me almost quit. It made me almost I can say here with no light heart, Dr. K, that December 22nd, 2014, that was the day that I wrote a pace spin that I really didn't know what I was going to do next. There was a charity race that was going on here. It was a charity race between me and at that point the number one runner. By the way, we didn't bring it to earlier. I was number two at one point. I was number eight whenever
Hmm.
in 2012, but by 2014, through just scathing amounts of grinding and enduring, I did get to number two. And me and the number one went for a race, but he was way more consistent than me. So like I failed all the hard tricks, and I was 10 minutes behind, and I was getting berated by that chat, and there was a lot of them that were from that community that were
Ouch.
um yeah, hitting me really, it hit me hard, like, kill yourself and you're trash and you'll never be good. And I guess in their eyes, I thought it was like, just banter. But I'm saddened that I still remember that 8 years ago to this day.
Yeah.
And the next day I was just like, this is not why I got into speedrunning. This is not why I got into streaming. This, like, how I feel right now sucks. And my self worth is plummeted to nothing. And I genuinely wrote a pace spin saying I think I'm done streaming, actually, which is saying a lot because I love it.
So,
And but I didn't know if I could go on any further dealing with that crap ever again.
so Michael, can you tell me a little bit about what the last few years have been like? So let's say 2015 to 2022.
Well, this is where it gets totally different. So I get into working out. Actually didn't start working out until 20 late 2014, like I don't know, it might have been like December or whatever here. And I went full time by 2015. At first, I had a full time sub goal of 400 subs to be able to like lower my expenses and live off of that. But by 2015, or by July of 2015, I'd already surpassed 600 subs, and I was like, okay, well, what am I scared of? I said I would do this 200 subs ago, and people are sticking around. They like me. They like what I'm doing right now. Maybe I should stop being scared and like make that leap. I even had this issue actually where I was like scared to quit my job. And I even Googled here at Desperation. Remember this here. I Googled why am I scared to quit my job? And I'd learned here that it's fear of change, fear of habitat,
Hmm.
and just like it's a huge step for anyone here, even if you don't like your job and whatnot. But yeah, I went full time July 2015, and my plan was to like take the next upcoming Yoshi game and make it my next big thing. And this is big because what happened was Mario Maker 1 released September 11, 2015. And I'm sure you've heard of it, the game where you
Yeah,
make
yeah.
the Mario levels and you share it. So that went super viral. That went like giga viral. And I happened to be the one, maybe the one person who like was speedrunner savvy, but also palatable on a mainstream Twitch scale because of my waiter swag and whatnot. So I was able to where a speedrunner required, flow state into interaction. Here it was like,
Sure.
it's just I can meld two together because it's bite-sized Mario levels. I played that and I went viral immediately. I went from being like a 400 viewer, whatever person to like 4,000
Wow.
instantly. And then the next day, 6,000. And then the next day, 7,000. And then the next day, 8,000. And I was an 8,000 viewer person for months. Like I didn't know what to do. Like this success was so viral and so sudden that I thought every day was gonna be the last day. So I just kept doing it. I would just literally go live and do 18-hour binge-a-thons until I couldn't go any further. Like I'd tell my roommate, yo, look, $50. I don't know, dude. Here, go to Waffle House, get yourself something, get me 3 Texas Roadhouse meals, whatever here, and I'm gonna keep going. And so I just grinded to a pulp, kept doing that, and that was kind of the best and the worst thing there. There were a lot of streamers who are definitely jealous of what I had going on. I don't know. I went viral. I was able to take it and retain it and keep going with it here. I felt like I felt more alone at that time, actually. Whenever I had that monstrous success, like the amount of like, I don't know, the amount of like
Had,
scam DMs and like, people pretending to be a girl and trying to like, or whatever, right? Trying to, catfish or whatever here. I'm a big fan. I'm a hot grill and, whatever, California, whatever. Dude, everything, and everyone had something to sell me now. It was just like, I felt like all protocols of communication were compromised. Nothing felt real. It felt like I was in a simulation. There was even a period where like I didn't like, where I was staying up so late that I was going to bed at 7 p.m. because I had stayed up so late and continued to push
sure.
my circadian rhythm further and further back. That there was actually a 3 day period where I didn't talk to anybody. I didn't talk with any humans, and it was really weird. It actually made me like a little disoriented, honestly. My communication entirely was like virtual and surrogate through a monitor and text for like 3 days straight. It's a really really weird feeling. Feels the isolation can be like paralyzing in a way because my skin became paper thin, like because I had nothing to ground myself, so my stakes of like critique. Because remember, you got to think here, right? I'm like 8,000 viewers. If I make like one like Xbox joke, LOL, Xbox has no games here. An Xbox fanboy is gonna call me, well, they get offended or whatever, right? And then hurts my feelings because I was like I had no basis for how to like deal with that. Well, anyways, yeah, I became incredibly virally successsible and I was not prepared for it. And the amount of feedback you get when you like, I don't know, crack a joke or say something that's like not, anyone can like, Google foo it and immediately verify that what you said was wrong or whatever here. I don't know it's like a lot of feedback all the time. And like, if you don't have like enough ego, I guess, to like endure that, it can be pretty draining, you know?
Definitely.
So that happened to me a ton, and so ever since then, of course, also here I mismanaged here. I would say, admittedly, I wasn't the most disciplined. I felt continuously overwhelmed here. I had like thousands of DMs on my Discord. I had Twitter was blowing up and whatnot here. I didn't have like it's like running an empire like that. If you're like not used to it, it's you crack under it. I would say here, and I most certainly did.
What does crack mean?
I stepped away, so to speak. I guess. How do I put this here? So if we, well, see, I'm kind of like I'm dancing around the topic, but I guess I should get into the topic here. The topic would be that, so if you go back here when I told you about, when it came to girls, that I I didn't know how to deal with that insecurity. And even though I was working out and I was getting in better shape, I thought that being more physically fit would help me deal with this. And there was a point where I convinced myself that okay, if I get abs, like right, if I really build up and I like sculpt and everything here, and once I have abs, I will finally have the confidence I need to finally talk to girls. I was actually scared. I was scared. There were like a lot of like other, you know, female content creators and whatnot or whatever here, and I just never made a move. I never made a move because I was paralyzed by fear, not
What
even
were you
because of
afraid
like lack
of?
of interest. I was afraid of rejection. I was afraid that I was afraid of rejection, but I also was afraid of like coming off as thirsty. I felt like I had to I felt like I almost had to be like a demigod in a way here. I had to like, you know, I lack genitalia. You know, I'm Trihex the Tri God, and I need to be above the surface mortal level of attraction. Because this is going to only distract me from what my goals are. I don't know where that even comes from here at this point here now. Maybe that's like a incorrect assessment here, but
Can I ask you a couple questions about that?
sure.
Why do you have to come off as what's help me understand a little bit about not wanting to come across as thirsty?
I don't know. It's terrifying, man. I don't know. Like, I saw some other streamers who would like, you know, hit on girls or whatever, and they would get belittled on it on Twitter for like, haha, you horny, haha, you thirsty, or and maybe it goes back here
So,
to
yeah, it sounds like you're once again playing Yu-Gi-Oh, right? Where it's like if I play this card and I come across as thirsty, like that's not going to go well. So I can't. And I'm kind of
I can't show I'm vulnerable. You know what I mean? Yeah, yeah. I don't want to show anyone who follows me on Twitter that like I'm human and I find attraction
attractive.
possible. Yeah, right? Yeah, like that comes into play here,
I
but
mean, kind of a weird question, but do you
yeah.
think you were thirsty?
Um See, okay, thirsty would be like I'm gonna put that here. How would we define thirsty? Not in a negative way. No, I don't think I was being unreasonable. I also didn't hit on anyone though. I was I craved companionship. If that's what you're asking here. Yeah, yeah. I definitely like um found other women attractive, and I definitely would have loved to had a girlfriend. I never had a girlfriend at this point. I'd been perpetually single forever. I went through some pretty hardships in high school and onward, where I was a virgin for a lot longer than I thought it would be. Not that being a virgin is an issue here, and I hate to make it sexual. I'm sorry if this is like a topic you don't talk about or whatever here. Just like but in high school and again in small town Louisiana, it's just like, you know, what always was emphasized here is the body count. You know, every weekend I'm hearing these guys, you know, brag about how many girls they ran train on and all this other like stuff that I had no interest in, and they just would like it's really weird. Imagine you have other like 16-year-old boys who are just sitting here burning their entire weekend chronically lying to other girls about how you're the only one. Oh, baby, I love you. You're my girlfriend, and the whole agenda here is just to like, you know, get them in an environment where they can like finally persuade them by peer pressure to then partake in sexual acts. You know, they want to smash, and it's just but it's, you know, they're wasting like hours with like phone calls and all this other manipulation just to be able to maybe get their 15 minutes of fame or whatever
Yeah,
here.
Michael, I'm wondering if actually like it's interesting, right? Because you're a part of you maybe is afraid of rejection, but I'm almost kind of envisioning that part of also what you're afraid of is, or actually part of what you didn't know back then was that when you express interest, that interest comes with all of this toxicity. And so you wanted to maybe demonstrate to people that you were interested, but like not in a way that is like those other people. You know,
Yeah,
that
that
you
could
were
be a way to
interested
put
in
it.
companionship as opposed to smashing.
Yeah, yeah, definitely that. Yeah.
And
Well, it gets worse. So this is something that I feel like maybe isn't given enough attention here, but like I was catfished twice. Um and I was devastated that I probably fell for the same person just using an alt, you know, and you know, I got catfished, and then then the rebound was another woman telling me that she's, you know, she's another member of my community, and that's unfortunate that happened here, and she wanted to like, you know, talk to me and help me console me through it here, and whatnot, and then that was also a catfish, and just like at that point I was burned, so I devastated, man.
can you tell me what you mean by catfished?
So by catfish I mean that there was a person who was presenting themselves as what they are not. This was Um, someone used pictures of some pretty like female cosplayer. And I thought they were real. I thought they really wanted to be my friend. I had never had. Also, for context here, I kind of have never I never had a friend who was a girl before.
Mm.
Again, when I say here, like,
And
or I'm talking like genuinely like terrified of like misspeaking or making an idiot of myself
no,
in front of women. So I just kind of put it off forever. I felt in comfort around guys because I didn't feel judged, but it may go back into some rejections I had in high school where I was told, that they didn't they you know I was a loser and whatnot.
so the reason I asked about catfishing is because I'm still a little bit confused because sometimes when people catfish, there's actually a romantic attraction, but they will use fake pictures and things like that to try to advance a relationship, almost create like some emotional bond, which is kind of manipulative in nature. And then when the mask comes off, but the person, so I've heard of two kinds of catfishing. One, which is, developing a genuine emotional relationship that's based on a lack or they're genuine or they're real emotions, let's call them that way, but sort of like false advertisements and a lack of trust at the beginning. And then the other kind of catfishing that I've heard about is really in a sense even more predatory, and there's like it's not even a woman, there's no romantic interest on the other side. I've heard of catfishing as kind of like a fear of rejection, which is why I false advertise, but I really am attracted to you or something like that. And I've also heard of like catfishing as a way to like screw people out of money, you know? And so which one are we talking about with you, if that makes sense?
They didn't want resources or anything like that here. They were just they were they would never want to. So they presented some pictures, right? I'm a big fan. Whatever here, maybe we should hang out at this coming convention and whatnot. Here, it's kind of just like a whatever, like a nonchalant opener. And then from there, it was like, okay, well, do you want to? And they were advancing a little bit here, showing signs that hey, I find you attractive and whatnot, which was very validating to me here because this is the first time I ever heard from a woman that I find you attractive. I hadn't happened yet, and so but every time we would try to push for a phone call or like a video call or just like any kind of like tangibles, it was always like, oh, I'm busy and whatnot, the usual deflection and whatnot, and that happened for like almost 3 weeks, and it was exhausting because I wanted to believe so bad that okay, maybe maybe this is the time. Maybe I am
Yeah.
lovable. Maybe maybe now, now that I'm in Twitch land and I'm a validated speedrunner and a successful streamer, maybe now all that garbage from high school was just like a phase, and that
Michael has
actually
become Trihex.
yeah, yeah. Except that it wasn't. Of course, it was a catfish. Of course, it wasn't real. And then
How
I
did
got
you?
devastated. And I just I tuned out. I stopped streaming for like I don't even know, like I don't know, like almost half a month, honestly, which is like a death sentence at the time to keep momentum up here. So
Yeah.
my view count plummeted from like 8K to like 2K because then at that point everyone was very eager to like pick up my momentum from dominating the Mario Maker directory. So yeah, that dominance diminished considerably when I came back at that point. And even then when I came back, it was because I was streamer guilt. I was so overwhelmingly felt guilty about not streaming here for my loving community and whatnot because they didn't do anything. This had nothing to do with them. It was just some
Yeah.
one person, and I had bad judgment and whatnot. But yeah, that catfish definitely like really messed me up,
Wow,
man.
Michael, it sounds like you've had a lot of unfortunate experiences, a lot of struggles over the years, imposter syndrome, discrimination, people sort of taking advantage of emotional vulnerabilities, almost, I mean, hopefully this is okay to say, but almost naivete, that you
Yeah.
were naive. And you were looking for companionship and someone sort of sniffed that out and kind of took advantage of it once. And then it sounds like they like the traumatic first experience then made you emotionally vulnerable to it happening again.
Yeah, that was
And
correct. Yeah, I got catfished again, and that one was even though this one I don't know if it's the same person or not. I just like and here's the real issue. The real issue is that you don't get closure. Like even if you like accuse them, like, hey, look, I have definitive proof here that you are not who you're claiming to be. You're not being transparent right now. All that happens is they're just gonna just obfuscate that with more lies. Like they're going to min max on plausible deniability further and further and further and use every out they have because how hard can you really pin them down, So it's just like you so badly, all this time invested, you're just it all feels transactional and you feel objectified or and whatever else it may be here. And it's like you can't even like seek closure. You have to just conclude on your own that
Yeah.
this is like I'm done being on this merry-go-round of like a psychopath time sink and you just get off of it.
I'm sorry if I
I
laughed.
just had to ghost him.
I just appreciated the phrase min max plausible deniability, which I've never heard before, but it's brilliant.
Uh, yeah, I don't know. Maybe that's we can
No,
use
I
that
mean,
one if you want
I
to.
think you've got away with words, dude. It's great, right? And you're spot on that. I think it's hard, right? Because with some of these relationships, even when you know the truth, you never get an admission. You never, and you're so like no matter what happens, it's almost like the more you suspect and the more you try to get closure, the more smokescreen comes up. And,
Yeah.
and so like you're really looking for it, right? You're looking for some kind of tangibility. You're looking for some kind of like admission of guilt. You're looking for some kind of acknowledgement for what you've been through. But the more you reach for that, the more, intangible it becomes.
Yeah.
So
Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
yeah, I mean, so Michael, I noticed we've been talking for a little while. Is there something in particular that you think we haven't touched on yet, or something that you kind of want to talk about, or potentially are struggling with?
Well,
I've got more
yeah,
questions, but I just want to give you a chance to.
Oh, I'd say the most recent thing that I've been really like doing better on here is probably productivity struggles. And you ever heard of this phrase, unconquerable task syndrome? That ever come on? Like I don't even know if it's a real like thing or not here. I just saw it in an article one day, and I was like, this feels like what I'm dealing with right now. There was been like a long period where like so particularly it comes from burnout. I've been burned out, but didn't know I was burned out. And then I had productivity struggles because I was burned out, but wasn't aware of it or in denial of it. And then finally, whenever I would like, stream for, I don't know, 6 days or whatever straight, and I felt like I needed to like really, really get down to some like communication, reply to some emails, do some community management tasks, manage my Discord, etc. here, run the empire, so to speak. I just couldn't do it. Like no matter, I would sit there and just stare at my monitor and just be like, bro, I can give it like 20 minutes of focus time and I'm just like totally drained. And I'm like, bro, I cannot. Why am I so unproductive here? And my go-to gut reaction was the fact that maybe I have ADHD. Maybe I need like Adderall or Ritalin or something. Maybe I need to go. I need to be 100% today because I'm so behind and everything here. I gotta stream. I try to stream, 8 hours a day. Try to do at least 5 days a week. Usually I'm doing 6 days a week here. I try to shove like I don't know, like 80 hours worth of stuff in a 40-hour work week on my end here and get some other stuff done and just like and I just felt like I couldn't get it. And the guilt felt overwhelming, honestly. And that was really dragging me down for years cuz I'm just like how do these other streamers do it? I'm continuously comparing to them and I'm looking how successful they are and I'm just like people who came after me. I feel like by being a Twitch boomer, I'm the one here who's stagnant because they're the ones who are able to like see more objectively, maybe here comparatively, like what the new meta is and whatnot. And I don't see it. I don't know. So that's something I've been struggling with recently here. But
Can you tell me about unconquerable task syndrome?
so it's just like whenever there's a task you need to take care of here, like you need to, for example, let's say you want to zero out your inbox. You have like 100 unread emails. You just want to kind of go through there, and you want to get in there, file them by whether it's a receipt purchase or whatever here, and just kind of get it knocked out, right? You can do like I find what happens. I want to like make it like a smaller incremental step process. Okay, let's categorize these 100 emails first, then skim them for anything valuable, then delegate them to where they got to go and whatnot. And I'll have fun like taking like a dry erase board, just like writing all like the planning of the task is fun. Executing the task is where I'm like I'm stuck and I'm like and then I end up like I don't know like I whether or how you unconquer it is different on each person here. But for me, I end up like spazzing out and going in different things here. Like in that 100 email inbox, I end up like seeing here an email from like I don't know whatever like HelloFresh or whatever, and I'll go over to that website and just look at that and ooh, this looks cool here, and just I can't focus. I'm so my attention span's already at like 90% consumed. So like I don't have much left to really give here because I don't really want to be doing this right now. I want to just like I can't get there. I feel this overwhelming need to do the task, but I just cannot simply execute on the focus of it. Planning it is fun, but doing it is like just I'm unable to do
And
it.
have you made
And then
progress there?
I feel very, very guilty. I'm just like, bro, I sit here in front of the computer just like for like an hour and a half. I'm just like, okay, I give up. I'm just gonna go for a walk and come back and figure it out here. And it ends up being here. It's like I'll spend like a whole like 9 hours on my day off, and I'll have gotten that one thing done, 100 emails filed, and that's
So
it.
so you do it.
At a slug's pace, yes. At a depressingly slow pace with a lot of breaks in between.
And,
Yeah.
and Michael, is it okay? I mean, we could talk about this for the next, 15, 20, 30 minutes if that's okay with you, and try to understand what's going on.
Sure. Well, one, it's gotten a lot better now. I will say here, this is like what I've recently been dealing with here, but I'm happy to report that I'm doing a lot better
Yeah,
on it.
so help us understand how did it get better?
I did the unprecedented. So I've been full time streaming on Twitch since July 2015. I was scared, genuinely scared to take a break. I never took breaks. Even going to Evo, going to TwitchCon, going to other events always was like a cross pollination of opportunity.
Mm-hmm.
I wouldn't really call it off the grid. I didn't
Yep.
even know really what a real vacation was. I've never. I was a GameStop employee into a waiter into this. So I've never had like a job with the security and luxury of actually having like PTO, paid time off, etc. So I wouldn't know. I was blessed on I know that where I am right now is incredibly privileged, being a whatever top 0.001% Twitch streamer, content creator, whatever here. So I know that my job is something that's incredibly envied. So I feel like I have very little room to actually like complain about what I do
Mm-hmm.
or or vent about what I go through, me. But I've never had a vacation in that regard, so I didn't even know what like the actual objective of a vacation being rejuvenative. I had never entertained that. It was always just like, okay, well, I went to TwitchCon. That was fun, play, work, whatever
Yeah.
here, and I come back, I keep going here.
So
But yeah, I took for the first time ever, May of this year, May of 2022, I took an entire month off. I didn't plan to. I was going to do 2 weeks off, but I realized here that okay, I'm actually really burned out. Let me just take 2 weeks off and see what happens here. And even then, I was scared to even admit that. It took me until like May 13th, like after not being live for like 10 days, to finally admit, yo, I gotta keep going here. I gotta heal. Like I can see, I need a detox. I'm terminally online, and I've been working for so long here. I feel uncreative. I come live, and it's just because it's the routine, the motions, but I don't really know what I'm doing anymore.
yeah,
So
so
that whole month off is what led to me finally really seeing at the core of what was going on there.
and it seems like taking a break really helped you with some of this unconquerable task stuff.
Yeah, yeah, because I was able to finally like. So I find, for example, here I'm not really able to reflect on how I'm doing until I'm away from this environment. So I'm in my office that I'm in, whatever, 80 hours a week or whatever here, and can I really reflect on how to improve my workflow, my tasking, and everything in between here when there's always the looming threat of the access to streaming? You know, if I'm only getting like one task done in a 9 hour span, or I could just go live and stream today and at least get 8 hours knocked out there. Which one am I gonna do? So that's usually what ends up happening. I mean, I say, okay, so I feel incredibly guilty and even more defeated on the fact that I could have just streamed. So until I get away from this office of turmoil, I found I wasn't really able to reflect. So once I did that and went away, I was able to think, okay, well then what is in theory, what is the structure of a productive Trihex day on a day on a day off? How do I make gym and fitness synergize rather than like antagonize
Yeah, well said.
the flow of streaming?
And so what I'm kind of hearing you say is that, and this is really common, by the way, that if we have easy ways of being productive, and there are sometimes tasks that we struggle with that, in theory, should take a small amount of time, but what we always end up doing is, I think you said it beautifully, that I could waste 9 hours doing 1 hour of work, or I could do the 8 hours of work that's easier for me to do. And at the end of the day, I can have done 8 hours of work or 1 hour of work. And so what ends up happening is, because our brain knows how to do particular things, what we end up doing is we choose the same easy work, thereby being more efficient. And we never actually get around to the quote unquote hard work, which is going to be less efficient. And you just can't justify the cost to yourself, right? Of taking a break from streaming. Like, okay, like I can stream for a day, or I can take a day off, which also I wonder a little bit about, if this goes back to even a case of the don't wants or being idle forever, right? Because like you're saying you've never taken a break, and it sounds like early on you were, taught like, hey, no gap years. Like gap years isn't something that people like us do. Vacation isn't something that people like us do,
I do admit it took me a long time to beat in me that the desire for vacation is not weakness. I can tell when I was talking to other people on a subconscious level, I would associate vacation and recreation as weakness. I don't know if maybe that comes from being a waiter, where it's gig economy, and being a waiter was one of the very few jobs I had access to when I was 18 years old that like let me make money, more of it proportional to my effort. I found many jobs where you're paid an amount, and usually you can get the work done in like, I don't know, half the time, but you're not really paid more to get it done half the time. So you just kind of end up padding the work. So ultimately your time is indirectly being perceived as like worthless, because you're not being rewarded for being more efficient.
Sure.
You're just rewarded for, right, typical stuff, right? So maybe being a waiter for so long is kind of what reinforced in me this like hustle mentality of just like,
Yeah.
well, or really, I don't want to say hustle because that's not the right, that's a lot, that's like a loaded term these days here, but more like make the most of what you got, never idle. Maximize your potential is a better way I'd put it here.
Yeah. So, Michael, let me ask you a couple questions. Or actually, can I just share a couple of thoughts that I thought, you've shared that are really interesting?
Absolutely. Go for it.
So the first thing that I want to kind of say is that it sounds like you've really been on a journey for a while, and that there were, things that you can be proud of, and areas that you really struggled. What I'm really hearing is from being, a young kid who liked nerdy things before nerdy things were cool, to, the passion of YuGiOh, which still traumatizes you to this day. And we haven't opened the can of worms of why you don't like YuGiOh now, which I heard you say, is a completely different reason. And then, becoming a speedrunner, becoming a streamer, transitioning to full time, always juggling so many balls. And I think what really is remarkable about hearing your story is the way that you capture moments of difficulty. So this overthinking, pyramid of confusion, can't afford a case of the don't wants, min-maxing plausibility, struggling to believe in yourself, struggling to find inner peace, perceiving, you're not good in your own head. You feel guilty for wanting to take a break. There's so much about what you've said, even some of the stuff in terms of romance, in terms of like, wanting a companion, but growing up in, frankly, kind of a misogynistic environment where like you were afraid of being perceived in a negative light, right? Because that's when you were growing up, the people who said that were being disingenuous. But if you genuinely want a connection, like how can you share that with someone without signaling to them, oh, I'm thirsty? And there's just so much stuff that you've kind of gone through, even feeling alone when you're kind of like successful. I mean, there's so much that you've gone through that I think people actually, like a lot of people in our community, struggle with, whether it's imposter syndrome, whether it's burnout, whether it's this unconquerable task issue of like, there's some work that's very easy for me to do, and it's just so hard for me to do other things. What would you share with people who have resonated with a piece of your story? Like, what would you say to them, or any advice that you have for them about if they're, wow. Yeah.
Well, first I want to say, you blow me away just now when you tied the negative connotation of being thirsty or even seeking companionship with like tying it back to the misogynistic high school boys. I had never thought about that actually. I had never thought here that maybe that's where my association bias came into play. That's brilliant. I never even thought about that. Thank you for that.
Yeah, of course.
The my what advice would I give if people are resonating with what we're saying right now would be again, I really do think here I do believe that happiness is like being more self-aware. So like perhaps like understanding what you're feeling will help you be able to figure out why you're feeling what you're feeling. And that's kind of a broad thing. I don't even mean step on your toes there or whatnot, but I usually use that. So and what that means is you got to reflect more often. You got to like I have found the days to be much more manageable. So okay, before here, it's like I feel like I would wake up and I'm already like this high in quicksand or water. Like it's 8 a.m. and I'm already about to like fall apart. I'm like, where do I even begin? I'm walking around the house doing the pacing, just like or like the football shake maneuver, whatever it's called here, the juking, and I'm just like, I don't even know where to go. Like I need to be live in 2 hours, and I need to like eat, gym, shower. Like my day's already failed. My day's already failed. And I find that if you're going through that feeling of like what feels like damn near suffocation, you got to slow it down and you have to be able to reflect on and idealize here what is my ideal day and like what do I like what is priority here because you're putting time somewhere anywhere everywhere but there is definitely a priority of what's allocating your time and whatnot. So how important is it to you to like figure out like what you want to get in control of? I find it once I started getting in control of my day, it got a lot better.
Okay. So it sounds like being more aware, really sort of thinking about prioritization, organization.
Yeah. You know, and being able to reflect would mean that you acknowledge perhaps you have like you're trying to shove 30 hours of stuff in a 24-hour day, and in theory you can do this if you were operating at 140% nonstop here. But can you really sustain working at 140% for 18 hours straight or 16 hours straight of being awake here? Probably not. So you need to like and what happens then is like I did think that, and therefore I always would attack myself, my own critiques of not being able to do the 140% workload daily, every day, all day, no breaks, continuously. And then you enter a chain of self-loathing, and then I just feel like, and then also combine that with like whatever metrics-driven workload you have here. So I'm seeing sub count, view count, whatever it is in our streamer space and whatnot that you look at, and it's like it's all declining, and I feel like I'm failing. I'm failing, and I don't know how to stop failing. So I feel like I feel like I'm broken. I feel like this wasn't a problem before, and it is now, and I don't even know how to fix it.
That sounds very relatable and also terrifying. This sort of sense that you start to fail, you can feel yourself failing, you can see yourself failing, you don't know how you got here. It feels like success is kind of far away. It feels like, you get almost, it's like the rug gets pulled out from under you and you're kind of spinning and you don't know how to find stability in those moments.
Good way to put it here. Yeah, you feel like you're not in control.
So, yeah, Michael, let me ask you. I've had a tickling question in the back of my mind, and we don't have to talk about this if it's uncomfortable for you. But we've talked about the challenges you've had in relationships. I'm a little bit curious. You also hinted that you hadn't had a relationship at that point. Have you managed to kind of find healthy relationships, like romantic relationships, over time, or
I did. While the catfish and all that was the bad news, I'm happy to report here that me and my wonderful girlfriend got together November of 2015, and we've been together since.
Wow.
Yeah, we've been together. Me and Jessica, we've been together since like 7 years now onward. Yeah, she's great. She's my rock. She's definitely like the best, biggest positive change I've had since I can't even recall when. My best friend and then some and all that.
Is it okay if I ask a couple questions about the relationship?
Sure.
Yeah. How did y'all get together?
Well, that's actually kind of funny. So what happened was I was playing Mario Maker one day, and actually I want to say particularly it was a day that like I was frustrated with like maybe the catfish or whatever. I don't even know. I was really, really mad about something here, and I was particularly distant that day while playing Mario Maker. And people can tell I was visibly distraught. I didn't feel like streaming this day, but I felt like I had to kind of push through and do it anyway. This is like one of those days in November of 2015 where I was already gone for 10 days, but I came back because of overwhelming amount of guilt and just kind of like just bitter, right? And just like not my usual like charismatic self here. Which by the way here again is really tough with streaming because like I feel like for me and you when we go live, it's like the bottom 50% of emotions are it's not an option. You
Yeah.
need to like you need
Well
to
said.
get there. If me and you were if we were like a
There's
line cook, your emotional status on being a cook wouldn't affect the food output, right? You don't have to interact with anyone other than your fellow line mates and your head chef or whatever here. But with streaming, it's like if I come here like pre-tilted, pre-salty, pre-aggravated, pre-annoyed, the fuse is a lot smaller there, so I may end up becoming more argumentative or defensive or excessive or how this whole thing here works, right? So yeah, this clearly I was not in the best state here, and she saw that I was upset, and she donated using her tag black anti-venom, but I didn't know how to read it because it wasn't capitalized correctly or whatever, so I saw black anti-venom being a Spider-Man reference. That was actually pretty cool. But I saw that it was Black Ant donating, and I thought it was like some. I remember reacting saying here that it was okay, because they were saying something that was kind of affectionate or whatever, and I was like, okay, thank you, you basement dwelling neckbeard. I don't care, whatever. I actually snapped at the donation, honestly, which is pretty rude of me. I will admit. Not my proudest moment here, but then my chat they searched because I said Black Ant, so I didn't even give it any thought here what the whole name was or was. They searched her name, saw she had an Instagram, saw she had a Twitch on her Instagram, saw she actually Twitch streamed, and they were like, and my Discord was like, yo, she's real, bro. She's cute too. You gotta check her out, bro. So I like, and I panicked here because they were all like berating her and telling her, that's not usually Trihex. He doesn't usually do that kind of thing. He's sorry about that. They were apologizing for me for which I didn't even know they were even doing. So then I felt like I had to then like reach out to her and tell her I'm sorry if my community's been like berating you or whatever. And then from there we started talking. The ice was already broken. The hardest part, the part where I initiate the whole like, I think you're cute. Maybe we should hang out sometime, something like that. That already happened because Twitch broke that
Wait,
all
so
for
let
me.
me let me understand this properly,
Yeah.
Michael. So this relationship, the rock of your life that you've been in for 7 years, started off by you calling your girlfriend of 7 years a neckbeard, a basement dwelling neckbeard.
Yes.
And then just to be clear, you use the word berate, but it sounds like actually your Twitch community went to bat for you and did damage control with her.
They did, but I didn't know at the time here. I just knew they were like I didn't know if they were mass harassing her or what. I didn't know. I didn't know exactly what was going on there.
So just to be clear, okay, and maybe I'm simplifying things, but you called your girlfriend a neckbeard, and then Twitch went and did damage control, and y'all have been 7. This is the largest contribution I've ever heard of. Honestly, that's not an exaggeration. From Twitch chat.
Yeah, no, that they
did research, found out she's a real
Yeah,
person, said, "Hey, dumbass, stop treating her this way. She's legit."
Yeah, they did.
And then
yeah.
we're also like, "Hey, he's not usually like this. Give our bro a chance."
It is true because I didn't tell them I had got double catfished at the time here.
Yeah,
clearly.
of course.
Right, but I just like I'm like, okay, yeah, you're being affectionate or whatever here. Maybe I don't know. I didn't believe.
Wow.
I had lost faith in humanity. I was so bitter at that point. I was on some like Tobey Maguire Spider-Man 3 vibes. I was just like edge. I was edgy at that point. I was like, bro, I'm so over humanity at this point.
That's got to be the best How We Met story I've ever heard.
Yeah, actually, I want to say it's a highlight. I got it. It's how highlights are never deleted on Twitch. I think it's like buried in there somewhere. I have to find it for y'all one day. But yeah, it's somewhere in there. Yeah. But yeah, we've been together ever since. We did long distance for about 9 months, and then she wanted to move down to Louisiana. She liked what she saw, and we've been together.
Damn right
ever
she
since.
did.
Yeah. She, dude, I am a charismatic playboy. I went all out, man. I was like, when she would come, it was like when we were long distance, she would come for like, she would get 3 days off of work. She would have like 72 hours or whatever for she had to go fly back Sunday evening. I had everything planned out. Like, I was like, yeah, we're going to go to this park. We're going to go do this thing. I want to show you this restaurant here. Like, I was just like, it's like 10 years of romantic angst, all like jam packed into 9 months of long distance. Like, I was just like, I want to show you the world. Like, I'm Aladdin, you're Jasmine. This is my carpet. I want to like, I've never had someone to like, just like
share your love
share
with.
my world with.
Yeah.
Share my world with.
Yeah. That sounds beautiful, dude.
Thank you. Yeah. And I've learned a lot too. I've gone through a lot of things, having to like really balance Trihex and then Michael, the boyfriend. That's been like another task as
Sure.
well. That's been a whole other beast. I realized I did something pretty remarkable because once people found out that like me and Jessica got together and we were long distance for a while, I had others who were like, hey, I got someone here. I've been thinking about entering LDR. I see that you and her made it work. Y'all successfully united together in person. How'd you do it? So
Mm,
I've had people actually, reach out for an effort of advice on how do you crack what's the secret sauce? What's the weapon X? How'd you do it? And which made me feel pretty means that what I did was pretty remarkable actually, because I feel like a lot of LDR can just like linger in the perpetual
absolutely.
pit of crap,
And
whether it be insecurities or not being transparent enough here and all that stuff there. Which I don't want to. I don't know if you want me to derail into that now, but just like
yeah, I mean,
I
can you give me like a
pretty big.
5 minute rundown of what you think was very helpful in your LDR and sort of helping it survive long enough to make it no longer long distance?
Sure. I told her in the very beginning here. I'm like, hey, look, I feel like our main objective should main objective here. I'm making it sound like game lingo.
Sure.
Our main objective needs to be conquering distance. Like if we are serious here, then we need to establish trust in the very beginning, unaccountable transparency, and that any insecurity you feel about me, feel free to hit me up about it. I feel no animosity or shame if you feel the need to bring something up here right now, because I feel like in LDR, what will happen here is like your smallest insecurity about something will feed and erode our trust. And I feel like the strongest things we have right now in our the pillars of our foundation are going to be communication and trust. So hit me up with anything you got here. Whatever you want to know, whatever you need to know, I'm more than willing to give that to you. So I above everything, I want this to work. I don't want any. At the time here, I was thinking here, because I'm a streamer, a prolific streamer, and she's her. Maybe it would be like, it would be like haters who are coming in and going to throw everything they can at her about me that maybe I've said out of context in the past here or something like that.
Mm,
I don't know. I didn't even know what I was getting into, honestly. I didn't know what it's like having known unknowns. Like I know what I don't know
hmm.
versus unknown
Unknowns.
unknowns.
Yeah.
I don't know what I don't know. And this was a crap ton of unknown unknowns. So I was just like, hit me up here. So we did that. We established it at the very beginning or early on. And our goal was to conquer distance, figure out here, am I moving to where you are? Are you moving to where I am? Or what are we going to do? It was like, what's our student's point? We're going to do this here. I feel like we need to see each other more often, because I don't know if I can do this whole like I don't know if I can do this whole thing here. We just linger for like 6 months at a time. So like, maybe can we see each other once every 6 weeks? Is that manageable for your boss and whatnot? And we try to figure out, when that was. And we were constantly communicating on the next step. Everything was methodical and planned. And when it came down to it, the one people can debatably here say that, moving in from LDR after 9 months is kind of fast, but we had prepared continuously the whole time through, and it was my top priority. I would say much more than streaming. For the first time ever, actually, this was like a way bigger to me than streaming was. So I was, I would pretty much stream and do like a little 6 hour stream, not the Trihex tier 8 hour stream, and then I'd be on the phone with her for like 4 hours after. Like I
Wow.
could not wait to talk to her, honestly. I was like, okay, stream's done, I'm gone. All right, hey, babe, what's up, babe? What's up, babe? So but what the catalyst was that her lease was going to renew on her apartment, and I felt like and it was like either another 9 months onward of more LDR, or drop the lease and we make the move happen now. So I was like, what do you want to do? And she was like, let's do it. Now on that note, I chose deliberately to fly to her and then rent a van and then drive it back down. That way the transition from her state to Louisiana was like more gradual. I felt like her flying here would have been like a really abrupt thing, and I wanted to make a memory out of the transition. So even though
Sure.
it was actually more expensive, I chose to drive back with her and make it more of a memory.
Yeah, I mean, I'm noticing, Michael, a couple things. The first is that it sounds like y'all have both been quite thoughtful and intentional about how you manage this relationship. The second thing that I notice, and it's kind of bizarre because I've seen this time and time and time again, that oftentimes the healthiest relationships that I've encountered over the course of my career, my life, are usually like pretty idiotic in some way. I mean that honestly, like, because like I'm not. It's not a judgment. It's just like the best relationships usually have something that honestly would be like, okay, moving straight from a long distance relationship to moving in after 9 months seems fast, right? A lot of people would say like, oh, that's actually like a relationship mistake. That's, and there's something, honestly, there's something stupid about love, like in a good way.
You are not wrong.
And
The logic center is like, I think I'm a pretty logical person. The honeymoon phase, I was like on another world.
yeah,
I couldn't even explain it. Yeah, it's crazy.
And I've seen that. I mean, I certainly know in my relationship, for example, like, the person who's now my wife should have dumped me like for a couple years, like, cause I wasn't doing nothing. I was like kind of complete, just not going anywhere or doing anything. And she was crushing it in life. And she really should have traded up, IMO. But and so we've had our fair share of idiocy in our relationship too. But I kind of see that, and I think it's like, yeah. So thank you so much for sharing.
Absolutely.
Any questions for me before we sort of think about wrapping up?
Questions for you. I guess let me think here. The one I could think of here that maybe you could help me understand here is like, I think I'm coming to terms now with like what I'm calling here streamer guilt. Have you ever found it an easier way to like balance that? Like, I usually find when if I feel guilty about like I'm not doing enough for my kids. Like, okay, the thing here is I always feel like I'm not worthy of the community I have. I have a bunch of loving people who have been around. Some of them, 100-month plus subs, and it's kind of insane. It's kind of like daunting to even think here that you've been around. Like the amount of roller coasters I've been through with like just like not figuring out myself and whatnot, and they've been around for 100+ months is like insane to me. How do you ever come to terms with like, I'm not in, I don't know, you're fulfilled with how you're performing as a streamer. Does that question?
Yeah, yeah. So let me just unpack that a little bit. So you mentioned streamer guilt. Mm-hmm. Can you tell me a little bit about that?
I feel like I've never made like the peak form content that my community deserves. I feel like it's like if they're thirsty, I've never quenched their thirst. In terms of like, maybe I have to them, but I haven't to me.
Okay.
And so I feel guilty about that, especially when I take off like days and stuff to like, I still feel guilty about taking days off.
And
I'm trying to currently adhere to like some kind of like, 5 days on, 2 days off per week kind of thing, just so I can have a better work-life balance. I've seen here what that does to my mental if I don't do that, but I still feel guilty.
And what do you do with that guilt?
Good question. I don't internalize it.
I mean, do you like distract yourself? Do you think it's legitimate? Do you try to process it? Do you talk it through with your girlfriend? Like, where does it go?
Yeah, sometimes I'll talk with my girlfriend about when we go walk our dog daily, and it will like usually I don't know. That's a good question. Actually, I need to think that one more honestly.
Okay.
I just know that I feel I know that once I got subscriber, right? Once I have like a paying patronage that happened here, everything changed. Like July 2013 is when I got a partner, and like it was at that point here that I never like taking a day off. Previously, before the subscribers existed, it felt I can make taking a day off be constructive. Whereas now I feel like taking days off is usually, it feels more destructive. I always feel like I should be doing more or something. Like I have to like learn to enjoy the downtime and being idle and not like always need to do more here. Because I feel like all my competition's always live and they're always doing something here. They're always outdoing me.
Yeah.
But then again, maybe I also work out, so maybe it's a whole different thing because I feel like I need more recovery and whatnot. I don't know. It's hard to say.
Okay.
Like how do you come with peace of just like not like how do you come with peace on not always being on, I guess, maybe.
Great. So my answer for you, Michael, is going to be a little bit different. Oddly enough, I feel like I do have an answer, so take that with a grain of salt, right? But here's what I see in you. So the first thing is that I'm going to take a slightly more spiritual perspective, if that's okay, as opposed to psychological.
Sure.
So, Michael, you've got a voice in you that calls you to do more, do better. Okay?
Okay.
I think if you want to do right by your community, that's a good thing. I think what could be going on, sometimes what happens is when we have a spiritual voice within us, our psychological hangups or complexes will hijack and twist what is a good intention into a negative result. So what I think is going on here is if you have gratitude, for example, and you want to make content for your community, and that's what drives you to be a streamer, that's actually a healthy thing. And for you to say, you know, for there to be a part of you to say, I haven't done what I set out to do, I have not done what I'm on this earth to do, that's actually like, I think that's a healthy voice. So some people may say like, oh, you know, like kind of get rid of the guilt, like acknowledge, be grateful, like, you know, this is all, but I think actually what's kind of going on here is I'm noticing a parallel between, you know, Michael and Trihex and becoming #1 in the world, setting a standard for yourself that until you reach that standard, you're not going to be satisfied. And so there's something going on here where I think what's actually happening is there's a genuine desire to create content and do right by your community, which I actually think you should lean into. I think that's what's going to actually make you the best content creator. The challenge is going to be that for some reason, you're not letting yourself be patient in that accomplishment.
Yeah.
Right? So this is the kind of thing where doing right by your community is not something that you need to do in 6 months. It's not something you need to do in 9 months or 12 months. This is like, I mean, you're a boomer streamer, let's say, but like you're not done, right? Like content creation is going to continue. This community, people have been subbing for 100 months. There's going to be 100 more. Especially, I think you're sort of like an old soul and you can kind of offer a lot of guidance to people in this community, even sharing your stories of your romantic relationship and things like that. The reason that we have these kinds of conversations is because I can guarantee you that even today, there's a black kid who's in a small rural town who's playing, you know, like whatever kids play nowadays, and they're terrified that girls are not going to like them because of, you know, the way that their hair is, and there's no like barber that knows how to handle their hair, so they just get crappy haircuts. I recently saw a study that actually like a remarkable number of African or African American children face bullying and discrimination specifically due to their hair, like more than 50%. And we as a society actually don't know how to like handle, like most places that will cut hair don't know actually how to handle hair from particular ethnicities. And there's like psychological studies that have been done on this. And so this is the kind of thing where I encourage you to do right by your community, but also be a little bit careful about, I think what's getting in the way is your ego. That recognize that you doing right by your community doesn't have to do with you. It's not actually about you and whether you, it's like, it's really about service, right? So, and this is where like, I'd encourage you to like take a step back and sort of acknowledge that this is a main quest. It's a long-term quest. And that this is like a long haul that you don't have to fix everything right now. And think a little bit about the part of you that is fundamentally unsatisfied, because I'm hearing a theme throughout your life that you've been unsatisfied with your performance at times. There's always been guilt. There's always been burnout. There's always been like, you know, I can't take a break. There's all kinds of things about a case of the don't wants and being idle forever, which I think like insert themselves into your thinking even to this day.
Yeah, maybe.
So this is the kind of thing where I would really encourage you to not to try to do right by your community, but oddly enough, acknowledge that you may never be able to, and that that's actually okay. Because I think it's that last part that, you know, you can, like, and I don't know if this kind of makes sense, but even when we talk about you grinding away at Yoshi's Island at the age of like 16 or whatever, you know, recording things on VHS, that was about you giving it your all. The flow state really isn't about accomplishing. It's really about being fully present in the moment and giving it your all. And I think the more that you can acknowledge that what your community deserves from you is not a particular outcome, but that you offer them what you can, right? Trihex, with all of his growth, all of his XP, and all of his flaws, can't necessarily fix your community. But what you owe them, these people who are actually a little bit responsible for the relationship that you're in now, right, that you should try to give back, is service. And I think the more that you can, and because this is the key thing, is stepping away from our ego, which is what gives us guilt. Because this is kind of where, I know it's what I'm saying is sort of abstract, so let me try to explain. You can't be guilty unless you have a sense of self, right? If I say, oh, let's take this conversation. So I feel guilty in this conversation because I haven't helped you enough. But that, I can't feel guilty for that unless I have an expectation of how much I should be able to help you.
I see.
And that comes from my identity that I'm Dr. K and I should be able to help. Oh my God, I didn't live up to what Dr. K is capable of. And then I feel guilty. Whereas so the way that I kind of handle that is to show up and acknowledge that actually Dr. K ain't shit. Right? Like, I actually have no idea if I can help you or not help you. All I know is that I'm going to show up and I'm going to give whatever I have to offer. And for some people, it may be enough, and for other people, it won't be enough. And in the same way, are you on this earth to support this community that has given you so much? 100%. So you're going to give them what you have to offer. Is it going to be enough? Is it not going to be enough? Is Trihex enough? Is Michael enough? Like, it's not your place to give them enough. It's only your place to give them what you have.
I see.
How does that sound to you?
You nailed it. When you said second to last point you said right there about the about like I have to win. I have to give it, like I have to accomplish the thing here. It was kind of like what resonated with me was like, it was like is it a fault of the effort or is it a fault of the pre-calibrated expectation? Or even the entitlement of what, I need to get to this point, even if it asks for 140% effort.
I think if we look at it psychologically, there's actually research that shows it's a pre-calibrated expectation. So if you actually look at the science of entering the flow state, which leads to optimal performance, stepping away from expectation is one of the key prerequisites of entering the flow state.
Wow. Okay. I got homework to do then. I didn't even know that.
Yeah. So it's really interesting. And I think those expectations in turn have to do with ego, right? Because how do you set expectations? They have to do with, okay, what is Trihex capable of? And
you're bringing up a really good point because this is the bad thing is that I've definitely stigmatized emotions a ton. I remember saying to myself a ton at the worst of my pit of shit that has been how salty and tilted I've gotten has been, why must I get salty and annoyed? Why can't I be the emotionless robot and just play perfect and why can't I just grind, practice, gain XP and just be perfect in 6 months? Why must these emotions hold me down from being able to just grind and get the results?
Yeah, so
I dreaded the process.
So
I hated it.
Trihex, let me just let's understand that. So what are you doing in that moment? You're moving away from the person that you are because emotions are a part of you and you're human, right? Mm-hmm. And you're beating yourself up for being a human and not living up to the expectation of what you have in your mind.
Yeah.
You have this idea of Trihex, and then here's Michael. And it goes back to my first question, what do you go by?
Yeah. I actually thought about that earlier. I was like, wait, when he asked the tag thing, I couldn't even answer that one. Like I couldn't even give you an ugly answer. I had to give you I couldn't give you a pretty answer. I had to give you the ugly truth. Yeah, I'm like,
right?
So complicated.
So I think at the end of the day, you're not Trihex, you're Michael. Mm-hmm. Right? Like you are this person who's flawed, who has negative emotions, who has guilt, who can sometimes only do 1 hour of work in 9 hours. And the truth of it is that's okay. Your guilt actually comes from not what you owe them, but what you expect from yourself, right? You're letting yourself down because you're not living up to that expectation. I'm not hearing your community complaining.
No, they're homies,
right?
Yeah, they
And
yeah,
so
they're
this is all coming from you and coming from what you expect from yourself. And this is where I'm not saying don't give everything you've got. And this is a medicine, frankly, like, I mean, this is a lesson I frankly learned in medicine, not in India when I was like studying to become a monk. But like what you realize as a doctor is that you can't save a life. You can try, but like you can try.
yeah. You can try, but you can't.
Yeah.
That's all you can. But what more can you do, right? You can't wave a wand
Yep.
beyond your own,
So
beyond your own willpower.
I can give it 100%. And the more that I get caught up in, oh my God, I'm a brilliant doctor and I should be able to do more, that actually doesn't help the patient. That's all about your ego, right? Does that make sense? I should be able to help this person more. It's like I'm not even thinking about them. I'm thinking about my own shortcomings.
I think about like a veterinarian, and if the critter dies on their watch, and how they can't get over that they didn't win every single time, right? Sometimes it's just going to be like that.
And so the more that you acknowledge your own humanness, the more that you acknowledge that you set an impossible standard for yourself. And I think that too, in terms of your identity, like a couple of other things to think about is that standard that you set is also born out of your insecurity. And that's kind of weird, but you were who you were. And as people started, I don't know how to say this, but like as they started treating you as less, you create an ego that compensates. So you have to be the best because what you were wasn't good enough.
Yeah, compensating.
Right?
Yeah.
And whereas just imagine how your life would be different if people were like, oh, it's like totally fine that you're playing YuGiOh. If at the library there was like a cute girl who also played YuGiOh. If people had accepted you early on, you would have nothing to prove. That desire to prove comes out of the insecurity.
Yeah. That makes a lot of sense to me, actually.
And so the more that you feel guilty is because you haven't proven what you have to prove. You want to prove to yourself that the community deserves you. So you're going to do right by them. You're going to save the world.
Mm-hmm.
But that's all born out of the insecurity that, they don't deserve, you don't deserve them.
Yeah, that's what I've been working towards now. So you're nailing it all. I agree. I don't disagree with what you're saying right now. I've been trying to be proactive on it now rather than reactive, and so I have made a pivot to really doing content that I find fulfilling. So I've been wanting to like work on some really abstract stuff, some like true blue ocean ideas here, rather than just like being the super gamer and just playing the game of the week or whatever, game of the month. I'm like, okay, well, what are people going to remember a year from now or 5 years from now? And I thought here, I wanted to make a fitness guide for gamers. Take the thing I enjoy with fitness and healthy and being a huge advocate for both lifestyle options and choices. And also like, I've never heard any gamers who are anti-fitness. A lot of them are intrigued by it here. So I want to like pioneer that connection. And that has me, and I'm excited. And like for the first time in a long time, not okay, I'm actually like, this is an idea that I'm obsessed with, and I keep working at it. I'm chipping away at this like master Google Doc I'm working on to get to like version 1 alpha release. And like, but yeah, not to make it about that. More just about the point is actually like I've been working on what really makes me fulfilled, so I can stop feeling this guilt actually. And I feel like, that's like the whole thing. I've had people tell me, I've lost 60 pounds because of something you said 3 years ago that really clicked with me on the mental and the accountability and discipline for like fitness and all that. And I finally get it now. And I'm like, maybe there's something here actually. Yeah. So I'm getting on the better path with that. And I really do appreciate everything you said, because it's crazy. Ego and insecurities and compensation and the man being the aftermath of what the child goes through in a way here.
Yeah.
A lot of my teenagehood really is shaping up who I became as an adult.
And
for better or for worse.
I think it's important to acknowledge that a lot of your adaptations to that have been responsible for your success. So the mind does this because it does help, right? But at the same time, I think like at some point, the adaptations that we make to our insecurity, like wanting to prove yourself, actually leads to you grinding and actually skilling up, right? So there are advantages to that, which is why it's so common for people to do that. But at your level, Michael, and usually what we have to do is we have to adapt to some kind of insecurity. That adaptation is going to help us for some amount of time, and then we actually have to grow past it. And what I'm really hearing is that, and this is the tricky thing that you're going to have to face is you're going to have a crisis, or maybe you've already done this, you're going to have a crisis of confidence when you have a choice between doing the work that's important and doing the work that makes you successful. And then
wait, importance versus successful?
Yeah. So what I mean by that is that, and maybe you've already gone through this, is at some point, this happens with a lot of creators, which is what they realize is that, like, if you make a guide to fitness, how is that going to affect your viewership? Right?
Right? Oh, okay.
So oftentimes what a lot of creators will have to do is like really struggle with that. And it's my experience actually that ultimately choosing what's important is the right move. Because over time, that will actually have more impact. I can't say that it'll get you more subs,
for sure.
But when I really think about, if something catastrophic were to happen and you never streamed again, what people are going to remember, or the effects that you're going to have, is that person who lost 60 pounds and now has the confidence to form a relationship, gets into a healthy relationship, one day has children, and then can help those children understand crises of confidence. And the ripple effects from what you do that you will never see as a streamer, because it's not quantifiable in subs and donations and view count and concurrent viewers and stuff like that. That's the real challenge of devoting yourself to a real important ideal. And so I'd say lean into it and recognize that the part of you that's obsessed with numbers may have a rough patch. But that's where I would also encourage you to use your streamer brain, use this person who's grinded, use this person who sort of knows how to play the game, and make that important, leverage it all towards your important work. So play the game, but play it for a noble cause.
I agree. That is that's what I've been wanting to do, is exactly that. I've been wanting to focus on being fulfilling and not being a metric obsessed meta chaser, and rather be the meta trailblazer,
Yeah.
Like, even in your regard, I think even Healthy Gamer entirely, if I can flatter you for a second here, I think this is like amazing. Honestly, a lot of your loving community approached me unprovoked, saying that I'd be a great candidate here, and I actually declined it, or I didn't entertain the idea. I was so insecure about even showing any of this here, like literally last year, that I was like, nah, I would never do that, dude. It seems it's daunting, it's exhausting. I could never actually.
I'm honestly happy to hear you say that, Michael, because I don't want anyone to ever feel pressured to come on here. I know that sometimes that happens, and that's the way that the community is and stuff like that. But I think, like, once again, patience, right? So things are going to happen when they're ready to happen, and most importantly, be patient. If you have that guilty kind of thought, oh, I'm not doing enough, I'm not doing enough, what I'd love for you to do in that moment is a small cognitive reframe, which is like, okay, my guilt is coming from a genuine place, which I want to support, and why is it that I expect perfection from myself at this point? Why can't I be a little bit more patient with myself? And really kind of raise awareness of that.
I'm gonna write that one down. I have to consider that patient with myself. That's a really good one. Wow. Why am I not? Why do I feel entitled to instantaneous gratification and success?
I don't think it's even gratification success. It's instantaneous service, right?
Oh, okay.
Right. So why can't you be good enough for these people that you care about? And that's okay. Yeah. And be, things happen in their time. You struggled with relationships, got catfished a couple times, and now you've got your, long-term healthy relationship. If you weren't ready to come on stream last year, totally fine. And I think the person that you've brought here today, it also shares a perspective that's very, very helpful for our community. I think oftentimes we sort of talk to people when they're really struggling, and it's just as important to see people who have gone through it, because that gives hope.
Yeah, I completely agree with that one there. I love the idea that, we're normalizing that you're not alone, and that, everyone has their own struggles, and how you arrive at them is all, conditional and loaded in variables here, but normalizing that it's okay to not be okay is, in a way, you're not also like getting compounded by self-loathing while also failing, which is what I was doing. Like
Yeah.
when I tell you the pit of shit was bad, where every day I'd wake up and I feel like I'm already in the quicksand, and I'm panicking and just again it turns into self-loathing really really bad, and that cycle is almost addictive. It's like a poison almost.
Oh,
Here.
yeah. So,
Yeah.
Michael, let me ask you one last question. So sometimes when people
Sure.
come on, we'll do a brief meditation at the end of the interview. Are you open to doing something like that?
Sure. Yeah. Yeah.
So,
I'm not a pro, but I like to go for walks. I like to
okay.
like actually. I find my best. I've tried conventional and never had enough guidance to really make it work here. But I have found that when I physically am away from my office, and that's when I can do my best reflection, when I'm
Good.
furthest from the commitment of streaming. But
So
let's give it a shot.
let me ask you a question. Is it okay that you're not a pro?
Oh, that's a good question.
Close your eyes.
Because we're
Close your eyes. I'm going to ask you the question again. I want you to pay attention. Is it okay that you're not a pro?
logically, yes, it's okay. I'm not
What are you feeling?
the need to perform well right now.
Where is
to be
that
honest.
in your body?
The need?
Mm-hmm.
Ooh, in my head,
Okay.
my neck.
What are you feeling? Tell me.
Um, you feel like a pressure above my head right now, just like I feel like I can see and feel the eyeballs looking at me right now,
Okay. I want you
looking
to
for guidance on how to meditate or even how to be in the moment right now.
straighten your neck and your spine. Good. Roll your shoulders. Just notice that pressure. Also take a moment to notice the absurdity that obviously you're not a pro at meditation. And yet, I ask you, is that okay? And you're so impatient with yourself. I should have been an expert in meditation already. You don't give yourself a moment of, you don't give yourself any slack. And now I want you to pay attention to the part of you that doesn't give yourself a break. Can you find it?
I see it.
Tell me about it.
Overworked, overutilized, underrested, strained, drained.
Right? So it's
In
so feel
a way, it's
all
like
of
okay,
I want
go ahead.
feel all of those statements in your body. Like what does it feel to be overworked, overstrained?
You really want to know?
Yeah.
It feels like SpongeBob in the episode where he's at Sandy's house and he's dehydrated beyond reason. It's like a totally dehydrated sponge with absolutely no moisture.
So feel
It's
that.
like I want to sweat because I'm so drained, but I'm incapable of sweating because I'm so
Nothing
dehydrated.
left. So now what I want you to do is give yourself a drink. Take a deep breath. Feel it in your abdomen, your chest. Deep breath in. Expand. Pull in air. Pull in life. Hold it. Hold it. And out. Slowly, 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 slowly. I want you to imagine, breathe in again. Feel the air filling your abdomen, your chest, even your shoulders. It's permeating you with hydration. Hold it and out. Slow, 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 slow. One more time. Slow, deep breath. Start with the abdomen, move to the chest and up the shoulders. Feel the hydration, the life flow into you, invigorating each cell in your body. You're going to feel that tingling, that movement. That's life. And out. Now you can resume normal breathing, but I want you to listen to my words. In this moment, notice the part of you that is relentless, underrested, always wanting more. Wants you to be an expert in meditation before you even try. Be patient. Acknowledge that that part of you exists for a reason. It's not a bad part, but that in its quest for perfection, you're the one that pays the price. I'm going to leave you with one simple concept. It's the concept of two arrows. This is a concept from kind of Buddhist thinking that sometimes life shoots an arrow at us and we take it in the knee. We can't control that. But oftentimes what we do is shoot an arrow at ourselves for getting hit by the first one. It's not just the mistake, it's the self-loathing afterward. You can't control the pain from the first arrow, but then it's the way that we beat ourselves up, the way that you don't forgive yourself. And the more that you engage in that self-loathing, the more that you're not patient with yourself, the more that you don't forgive yourself, that's what's really squeezing the water out of you. So when you feel that way next, take a moment to close your eyes, spine straight, head straight, neck straight, and breathe in vitality. Acknowledge that there's a part of you that judges yourself. And also acknowledge that you don't have to give in to it. That place is coming from a desperation to prove that you're good enough. I'm not a pro at it. I need to be a pro at it. No, you don't. You're perfect, exactly. Just notice what you feel in this moment. What's wrong with you? Nothing. You exist. Feel the breath enter your body. Fill you up. Feel the strength and the vitality of your form. Feel this body that you've created through hours of effort. This mind that you've honed and refined through years of strategic practice and introspection. Be proud of the life that you've made. Acknowledge that you've got a way to go, but you have a good amount of time to do it in. Now put your hands together in Namaste position, palms together. If you are okay with that from kind of a religious standpoint. It's not really religious. And I want you to rub your palms together. Rub them together. Create friction, heat. A lot of friction. Cup them over your eyes. Cup them over your eyes. Good. Take a deep breath in. As you exhale, slowly open your eyes. And then with one more breath, let your hands come down and relax.
I'm a little bit watery. Wow, that was a journey. Thank you for that. What I can say about that, having done that, well, one, I don't even know why I'm teary-eyed right now. Jesus. Time perception. That I couldn't tell you if that was 5 minutes or 3 minutes or 2 minutes. Time was abstract there for a little bit. I was really in that. Your voice, I was just going, and I'm just like, okay, I'm going. Like,
good.
That was amazing. Thank you.
I'm happy to hear that it was a positive experience for you. I think it's interesting. I don't recommend that people go back and watch the VOD immediately after an interview, but I think anyone who had their eyes open, you can see it in your face, Michael.
Yeah.
You could see it. It's interesting. You know what? You were smiling the whole time.
Yeah, I didn't even know. I don't know what expression I was making. I don't even know where I was. Like, normally you're like eyelids are closed, and I'm like looking through the eye. I don't even know what I was doing or what I was looking at.
Perfect. So this is
nothing.
So I don't know how to say this, but stepping outside of time is the best way to learn patience.
Stepping outside time, which meditation can help do.
Right? So that was your experience. So this is a good meditation for you. So let me give you a couple of instructions. So if you want to do this every day, you can. But when you're feeling impatient with yourself, when you're feeling the self-loathing, it's not just the mistake that you make. It's the way you beat yourself up. Because in those moments is when you feel the most wrung out, right? That's why you couldn't do it in the first place. And the more you expect of yourself, you're squeezing, do more, do better, do more, do better. There's not enough time. You should have done it yesterday. Your mind is going to do that. Take a step back. Neck straight, back straight. Breathe in vitality. Start in the abdomen, move to the lungs, up to the shoulders. You're going to feel the physical sensations. Hold the breath and then let it go slowly. Step outside of time for a while. Sit fully with existence. No deadlines, no time. Exist outside of time. And then, like, slowly as you practice that, you'll learn patience. You can do it 5 to 15 minutes a day. You can also incorporate other kinds of meditation techniques. You can check out, we've got like YouTube videos and stuff about other meditations. I would also recommend, if you want an introductory practice, something called alternate nostril breathing or Nadi Shuddhi Pranayam. So you can just Google it. I'll DM you the name of the meditation.
Thank you. I almost had alternate nostril breathing.
Yep.
Yeah.
So that can sort of help you kind of develop a formal practice. And I would say do, somewhere between 5 and 15 minutes a day if you can. You can start every other day a week. And to get clinical benefits of meditation in terms of anxiety and stuff like that, all the studies basically suggest 20 minutes of practice at a minimum of every other day is usually sufficient for some kind of clinical benefit.
Okay. Great. Thank you.
You're very welcome.
Yeah. I will say it is reinforcing the very little I know about meditation. I've heard is that, like, I will admit here I'm guilty of this. Maybe as recently as like last year, had you said, I think this would benefit you, I'd say I don't have time. I have too many things to do. I don't have time. I'm drowning in debt over like the backlog of tasks I got to take care of here. I don't have time. And I heard someone, I forget where, say that like, hey, if anyone ever tells you they don't have time, assign them double the amount of time. Actually,
yeah,
they need it more than yeah, right.
That's I think that quote comes from, I think, the Dalai Lama. I could be misattributing it, but he said everyone should meditate for a half an hour a day, and if they don't have the time, they should meditate for an hour. Yeah. I love it. And so, Michael, the last thing I'll kind of leave with you, thank you so much for sharing that, because you said a year ago you would have rejected that. So that's why this conversation didn't happen a year ago. Things happen in their own time when things are ready for it. Right? And if I'm just thinking about, I'll kind of leave this maybe like overly interpretive, but if YuGiOh hadn't released that patch or whatever that set of cards, you would have never been a speedrunner.
This is true. This is very...
All right?
Yeah, I would have definitely... It took a lot for me. I love YuGiOh. I love YuGiOh at its peak, in its peak form and what it could have been. It took a lot for me to feel heartbreaking and actually like leave the scene and really like move on to something else. Yeah.
So things happen in their own time. So be patient with yourself. Because we wouldn't be having, if YuGiOh, if they had balanced things better or whatever, like we wouldn't be having this conversation right now. So...
And that is true. Wow.
Good luck to you, my friend.
Thank you so much. And again, I'm a huge fan. I think what you do is amazing. I could fan girl all day right now. I actually did I have consumed a couple episodes of your stuff. Particularly, your community was they're very, very righteous. I'll keep it at that. They're best. You have an amazing, wholesome family and community.
Yeah,
I wish you nothing but the best.
We're very grateful for it, and really appreciate, we really appreciate the community.
Right on.
So thank you very much.
Awesome.
All right, take care,
again,
buddy.
Dr. K. You're a beast.
Thank you.
Right,
you too, buddy. Take care.
All right. Bye.
Okay. So slipped into meditation. We had to catch it before Trihex got distracted. So, wrong way. Okay, let's go this way. So I think a couple of things just to remember. So I really appreciated that interview. First of all, because Trihex is so passionate. And I want y'all to really take away that if we listen to his story, there were a lot of dark periods of his life, right? Super dark periods, whether it's being called White Mike, whether it's a young black kid growing up in rural Louisiana loving YuGiOh, whether it's the people over in, was it Konami that makes YuGiOh? You know, releasing, like there's just so much to be in despair about. Right, this game that you love. And like, honestly, like, okay, two favorite parts of the interview. I know that we sort of helped out and talked about stuff and maybe educated people towards the end, but two favorite parts of the interview, watching him unleash his rant about balance and meta changes in YuGiOh from, what was it, like 21 years ago or something absurd. That was awesome. And then secondly, discovering that the reason he's in his rock of a relationship is because, first of all, he called his future girlfriend a basement-dwelling neckbeard. And then Twitch chat, like, legit came to the rescue, and his community went to bat for him. Like, you can't make this stuff up. That was epic. And like, if y'all are despairing, I think take solace and inspiration that Trihex made it. And even if we're sort of thinking, oh my God, I'm going to be alone forever. Like, I mean, if Twitch chat can do it for Trihex, you could do it for yourselves. So don't give up hope. Be patient with yourselves. You know, I think he's grown so much, and it's amazing. He's like, the dude is an inspiration. Right? And it sounds like he's trying to do y'all a solid by putting together this workout doc or whatever. Like, that sounds really cool, you know? And I think it's like, we're sort of seeing this. Even at the beginning, I didn't think about that, but we were talking today about Camp Knut and how, like, Knut is helping Asmongold and Mizkif, like, put their lives together and get in shape and feel good about themselves. And so, like, this community, this world, this internet kind of thing that can lead to addiction and despair and toxicity and all these kinds of things can also lead to people getting in shape, people finding relationships, people understanding themselves better, people learning to forgive each other and forgive themselves. And it is what we make of it. Right? The biggest scam that we ever pull is convincing ourselves that we don't have power. Convincing ourselves that we're irrelevant. Convincing ourselves that we can't change our lives. Because what the mind does is it looks at all of the reasons why something isn't going to help. It's going to say, oh, it's not enough. It's not enough. It won't help. What difference does it make if I clean my room? What difference does it make if I exercise? Look at all the 1,000 things that are wrong in the world in my life. What difference does exercise make? And that's because we're operating from this dimension of time. And I know this is going to sound kind of weird, like we're going to get into like strange territory, but if you want to put together your life, stop operating within time. Start operating in the now. Don't worry about the future. I'm not saying don't consider it entirely, right? But like in this moment, if you decide not to exercise because it's not going to be enough, what you're using is you're letting time trick you into paralysis. And then today becomes tomorrow, and tomorrow becomes the next day. And every single day you say it's not enough, but what about tomorrow? What about this? What about this? What about this? It's all reasons to not act. As Trihex says, it's a case of the don't want us.